All right, so we're going to jump right in to five-figure email promos from Tiny List. This is Ian Stanley and Justin Goff teaching. If you guys have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We do have breaks kind of throughout the presentation where we're going to answer questions. Couple of housekeeping notes real quick. You guys will get the replay of this. All the links for the replay were sent in some of your post-purchase emails, so you can access it in there. The replay will be put up tomorrow. So if you want that, just go ahead and check tomorrow. I'll also send out an email to everybody with the replay, so you'll get that as well. If you're in the chat, make sure your chat is set to everyone instead of host and panelist. If it's host and panelist, that means only Ian and I can see it and not everybody else can see what you're typing. So make sure that is set to everyone so that everybody on the call can see your questions. Ian, anything you want to add before we hop in?
No, I think just put your questions in as you think of them, and then if they're relevant in that moment, we can look at them and see them. If not, we'll just get to them towards the end and we'll cover as much as we can. I think the big thing here is to know that our focus is on email promos, so not a welcome email or an autoresponder or how to build the list for this specific training. It's really about, picking probably a 3 to 7 day window, one core offer or promotion that you're putting together and focusing on that. So if there's stuff that's unrelated, we'll make sure that would happen at the end if we can cover it.
All right. So what you're going to learn in this training, the email promo tripod that'll double or triple your sales, the emails that are working best in 2023, what to say in your emails, how many to send, why you need to crush it in the final 24 hours of the promo. And basically what we're going to teach you, people always ask if this is going to work for them. So I really want to make it clear, no matter what niche you're in, like people tend to always get the impression that just because Ian and I write about copywriting and making money online, that this is the only thing it works in. Both him and I have written for fitness, health, survival, credit, financial. I've written some golf emails. I've written dating emails. So everything we're going to teach you works in no matter what niche you're in. The principles all
Yeah.
stay the same.
And the same for whether it's physical products. We've both sold a bunch of, supplements, ecom, bunch of water filters on my end. This works for $25,000 masterminds, live events, $7 ebooks, pay what you want courses. Like the principles stay the same. It's just certain mechanisms or tactics or things that change over that. But when people go, oh, well, I have a local business, it's the same type of thing. It's just, what is that offer? Is it to get people into the chiropractic business? Is it to get somebody to get their dog groomed? Like it's the same principles that apply.
Yep. So it'll work for your own offers, it'll work for affiliate offers. As Ian said, digital products, courses, info products, any type of physical products, coaching, live events, any of that. Also works even if you're not a top level copywriter. A lot of the people I've trained and have helped with their email promos are definitely nowhere near as good of a copywriter as I am. And they're able to make their email promos work and pull in five figures. So really, you don't think that you have to be on the same level as Ian and I to make this work. One thing I really want to emphasize here, based on a lot of the questions I got leading up to it and kind of noticing which emails you guys purchased off of, everybody's really, really interested in the email part of what should I say in the email? What are the emails that are working best? I 100% understand this is the sexy part. This is what everybody wants to know. But if you want to consistently have a five-figure email promo, it's not just about the emails. The emails is really kind of like the third step in the process. So we're going to really hit on all three steps of what we call the email promo tripod. But just be very, very aware that if you just get the email part right and you don't get the other two parts right, it's not going to work. So really want to hammer that home because I know a lot of people's minds are probably in that place, really thinking about the emails. All right, give me some love in the chat. Who's ready to learn the secret sauce to creating a five-figure email promo? There we go.
Feed me.
Love it. All right. I'm really pumped to teach this because this is something I love doing email promos and geeking out on on the little creative process of doing it. So I've been wanting to teach this for a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge. This is literally how Goff and I make seven figures from relatively small email lists. Every time we do this, it's a cash injection. And I think, something we can talk about at some point is kind of like how often do you want to do these? Because it definitely affects if you promote something the week before you do another promo, it will affect
Yep.
the results of that. And so like, making sure that you're finding sort of your tempo and that's different for everyone. But I know Golf and I had both done promos right before this, and that definitely affects that next week. I normally wait like a week between. But yeah, and then I think one good question before we get in here is how big is a tiny list? I mean, my first list I had was 200 people. I did a little mini launch with Derek Johansson's list. I got 200 people who bought. I made 12 grand that week or 6 grand. It must not have been 200 who bought from that, but I had 200 people on that email list and I made $55,000 that year from that list, working like 2 or 3 hours a week. So that to me is tiny. It's like 200 people. But even, I built a seven-figure therapy business from an email list of 3,000 copywriters. Even anything under 10,000 to 20, 30,000, it's all relative. Are they buyers? Are they free opt-ins? What's the quality of that list? But literally, it's shocking if you treat those people right. Even if you have 100 people, 200 people, you can literally make,
Yeah.
tens of thousands a year from that tiny little list.
Yep. All right. So we're going to hop into this. The email promo tripod. This is really what this is all about. The three parts to nail in a 5-figure email promo. And honestly, we put 5-figure in the kind of name and title to make it sexy. But if you got a huge list, like you could easily pull 6, 7 figures using this exact same formula.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with the most important part of the tripod. And that is what I call a sweet spot offer. So this is really, really important. So the sweet spot offer, the way I define it, it's an offer that appeals to the 5% of your list that are regular buyers. So a good example, my list has around 12,000 people on it. There's about 580 people on my list that are regular buyers. So they bought once, they bought again, they bought again. This is really who, when you're doing some type of promo, this is who you want to make the offer appeal to. You almost really don't care about the rest of the list. It's that 5% that continues to buy over and over again. And that 5% number can fluctuate. It might be 8% of your list, might be 10% of your list, whatever it is. It's the people that buy over and over again. Those are the ones that you really care about and who you want the offer to appeal to. Because if it doesn't appeal to them, the offer is going to bomb. It's going to do terrible. So that's really what you want to hone in and focus on is that 5% of the list that is the ones that actually pull their credit card out and buy. So the big question then is really how do we know if an offer is appealing to the 5% that buys? I have a couple different ways of looking at this. And I've kind of really honed this in over the years with 3 different ways. So one is really looking at the data of what has worked well in the past to your list. So if you have an email list and you're promoting stuff, keeping really good track of what's working, what type of offers are working, what's the angle on them, what's the price point on them. Second, if you don't have any of that data, you just spy on other people in your niche and see what's working to them, or literally just ask them. A lot of people just will tell you. Third is what is called a Q-test survey. I learned this from Brian Kurtz, who used to run Boardroom, which was a $100 million business. And this is basically the survey they used to run that picked all their offers, and it's insanely accurate. I use it as well. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Let's start with your own list first. I'm going to give you a bunch of different examples of kind of how I analyze what's worked well to my list. Ian, anything you want to chime in with, feel free to.
Cool.
So looking at the data from past offers you promoted, the big things I'm always looking for, what's the topic on the offer? What is the actual offer? Is it a physical product? Is it a course? Is it a live event? you want to keep that in mind, because whatever, like, as I said, whatever's worked in the past, you want to just continue to try to promote more stuff like that. What's the price point? Certain lists, certain price points are going to work better than others. So pay attention to what price points are working well to the list. And then literally just noticing any patterns in the offers that have worked before. So I'm going to show you a bunch of examples of this so that it really kind of drives it home for you. I took a bunch of stuff that I've promoted to my list in the past, and I'm going to show you how it did and kind of how I use that info to create future offers to the list. So my buddy Stefan, his RMBC copy course was a $997 offer. I promoted it many times to my list. It does really, really well. The big thing I took away from that, people on my list like copy systems and templates that they can follow that'll make it easier to write better copy. Stefan was an even better example of this because he's probably the best copywriter in the world, and he just has loads and loads of proof of winning VSLs, winning sales letters, winning everything. So, I mean, anytime you can stack all that, the offer is going to do well. But like I said, the big thing I took away from this was just, okay, my list really likes to buy copy systems that have templates. This was a $997 offer, so I know that that price point works to my list. Another example that fits in the exact same thing. Tanner Henkel and Jared Harlan did an email copy course, basically detailing their entire system for writing emails. I realized from that exact same thing as with Stefan. So people want templates, systems for writing email or for writing copy. This one specifically around email copy. I've noticed with my list, really any topic around email copy tends to do really well. So that's another big takeaway I had from this one, that now I know for future offers that I can promote something similar. Back in April, I promoted the mindset course that Brent Charlton did. Ian promoted that as well. It did much better than I thought. Honestly, going into that, I was like, this is either going to bomb or this is going to do great. I honestly did not know. I was like, I have a feeling it might do well because I know so many business owners and copywriters struggle with the mindset side of like fear around raising their rates, writer's block, all kinds of things like that. So I figured if it tapped into those problems, it would probably do well. And that's exactly what happened. So my big takeaway from that was I know that things around certain topics like writer's block was a huge one. Like I wrote many, many emails during that launch about writer's block, the fear of starting a business, raising rates, getting clients, all the type of mindset stuff that holds people back. I realized pretty quickly what was appealing to my list. And now I know in the future I can promote Brent's course again. I can promote similar courses. I could create my own. So this is kind of how I just wanted to show you how I kind of think about this, so you can see really just kind of my thought process for figuring out what's working to the list. Another one. So I did a training on how to put people with money onto your email list, basically a list building course. I learned list building really, really resonates with pretty much every sector of people on my list. So I got a lot of copywriters on my list. I have people who have their own offers. There's people that are in regular jobs that are interested in copywriting. Pretty much list building appealed to all these people. So I learned that really quick. And because of that, I also created another list building course a couple months ago with Ning Lee. We basically did another list building course with just kind of a different mechanism on it. And that one did really well as well. So I knew before I even created that course with Ning, I was like, this is going to do well just because I know anything around list building does well to my list. I'm going to take a quick pause right now. Is this helpful for you guys to kind of see my thought process on how I'm watching these offers perform, and then how I'm able to use that to figure out what the sweet spot offer is in the future? Awesome. Hey, Travis Sago on here. Awesome.
So I'll say like, when I was in the credit niche, which was like my earliest like real legit email copy gig, I learned that, and we didn't do like launches like this, which was stupid because we could have made way more money. But basically we would send 4 emails a week, 3 to 4, should have sent more. And a lot of them would go to blog posts. and we'd monetize with AdSense. And what I found is it didn't matter, like the content trumps the copy. So I could write an incredible email about taxes. Nobody wants to read it. I could write a mediocre email about credit cards. They all wanted to read it. So I always think about it as figuring out the pulse of your list, as well as sort of the emotional bank account, which is something that I think about as like, where is my list right now? It's like if I promote 2 weeks in a row, like a hard promotion with a deadline, my list is going to respond worse that second week than if I had taken a week to do something a little different in between. But you're figuring out sort of the pulse of that list and what are the things they resonate with? Because that's again sort of what Goff said at the beginning. It doesn't matter how good you are at writing copy, obviously being better helps. But if you're writing about shit they care about, the copy is secondary to how much they care about the offer. The offer trumps the copy.
Yeah, you said something to me when we were kind of doing phone calls leading up to this, and you were just like offer over everything, and it's so true. Um, Honestly, funny thing, Travis, who's one of the guys on this call, is one of the people I think who really changed my mind on this. Travis is really big on if you create the offer properly, the emails and the promotion of it can be pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
It's really all about the appeal of the offer, and that's really what the sweet spot offer is all about.
And you can pull out all the stops and do all the right things, and if the offer isn't working, it's just not going to matter how good that shit is if you don't find the hook or the angle. And then I think we'll talk, but this might be a worthwhile place to just inject this in here as part of the sweet spot offer is that I know Goff's experienced this recently too, is so much of how well something works, especially for my list, is going to depend on my energy around it. And that seems sort of ethereal or intangible. But if I really give a shit about what I'm promoting and I'm really into it in that moment, because there are things that I like that I've liked a lot more in the past or whatever it is. But if I'm truly interested in something, it will sell because my energy will transfer to my list and they'll see how into it I am. I did this reality engineering course around basically reality creation and these different weird techniques, and it did really well. And it wasn't necessarily something my list would be into, but because I gave a shit, they could feel that and they're like, yep, I'm going to do. Also, it was pay what you want, which worked really well. But if you like, I did one affiliate launch that I just didn't feel good about, and I stopped doing them basically after that. And my list could tell because I wasn't in it in the way that I would normally be. And so your energy matters as well. If you're promoting something you don't believe in, first of all, you're going to end up losing sleep. You're going to feel bad. You're going to find ways to offload that money unconsciously because you're doing something unethical or outside of your value system. But it matters how much you give a shit about what you're promoting.
Yes, very important. All right. So based on the data, I know that my sweet spot offer in the future, it's going to work best if it's around email copy, if it's around some type of sales page copy, systems, templates, if it's around list building, personality driven emails like the kind that Ian and I write to our list, and mindset. So I know just from past performance that these types of things are going to do pretty well, no matter what price point, no matter what the offer really is, as long as it's around these topics, and it's got some type of unique hook or unique mechanism to it, it's going to do pretty well. So before we move on, does that kind of make sense to everyone? Any questions? That's basically just about finding it from the data of your own list. We're going to go into more kind of how to do it if you don't have a list and watching other people's lists and also doing a Q-test survey. Yeah, Britt asked a good question. Does the mix of offers that work depend on where you gathered your list from? Yes. So one of the most profitable ideas I ever learned was that what people buy to get onto your list is pretty much what they're going to want to buy from then on. So to give you a good example, back when I had my supplement company, we had a greens powder that was promoted as an anti-aging supplement. So look younger, feel better, move better, that type of stuff. On the back end, we were trying to sell them all kinds of different stuff, like for their heart health and joint pain and all that type of stuff did okay. And I remember Jenny Thompson, who used to run the Agora Health Division, was like, just made it so clear to me. She's like, you have 200,000 people on your list who bought an anti-aging supplement. Sell them more anti-aging supplements. And that was just like one of those like baseball bat over the head moments. And I was like, oh, duh. Um, so from that point forward, pretty much everything we tried to do was selling them anti-aging supplements because that's what they wanted. Um, so yeah, really taking into account how they got on the list is definitely going to influence what they're going to buy once they're
Yeah.
on your list.
And even matching the medium to the message. So like people who YouTube ads, people that are on YouTube tend to like longer form videos. So doing webinars and longer VSLs tends to work well there because these are long form video people. On TikTok and Instagram now, those people could be long form, but they're also going through quick stuff. One of the big things is like, did they opt in for a documentary series? If they opted in for a documentary series, they're probably going to pay for documentary series. If they opted in for like right now, we're running, maybe $1,000, 2,000 a day on the 90 Days to Freedom, which is an opt-in for a free video. And that's like broad biz op, how to make money online as an email copywriter. Then we get like 200 leads a day on the 6-hour email template. And those people are basically one of two types. They're either an email copywriter who writes for other people and they want to get better, or they're aspirational to it, or they already have their own email list. So that's attracting two of the types of people I want that are a good fit for like this. But then those people who are opting for 90 days, if they don't actually buy it and get into email copy, like what I promoted this week doesn't really resonate with them. So I'll give people the option to opt out at times and things of a specific promo. But literally looking at like when people opt in for an email template, the first thing I sell them is an email template. Like, do not complicate the mechanism of what it is that they came in for. If they've come in for something specific, then they probably want that thing. And I know that Golf and I are both friends with Mike Geary, who's one of the email sort of gods of the original email guy. And he says lists they build about health conditions are worth more than lists about a general health desire. So if it's diabetes or a stomach disease or something like that, those condition-based lists will be worth more than a generic how to lose weight or how to improve this thing because those people have a specific problem. And like Golf said, you keep sending them different things around the same issue, and they're going to buy more. So literally, it's this downstream effect of how you build your list dramatically affects the performance of your list. And this is why you'll see people with 5,000 subscribers outperform 30,000 or 50,000 in different situations, is actually thinking about how did they get on the list and why did they get on the list, and then promoting things that are relevant to that.
All right. So we'll keep going. So basically, if you want to pay attention to what people are buying on your list, you want to keep track of what's working, what's not working. I got a couple examples in here. So if free plus shipping cookbooks do well to your list, sell them more of those. If survival food offers do well, find more of those you can promote. So you could promote bigger packages of survival food. You could do specialty packages that have more meat, more fruits, more veggies. There's other types of survival foods you can promote. Like I said, if they buy anti-aging supplements, find more anti-aging supplements to sell them. Last one. So you can also do higher tier things. So like if they bought a $97 list building course, how can you offer $1,000 one or a $10,000 one that has more personal feedback and more personal attention involved? So you can basically take all this data from what's working and figure out what your next sweet spot offer is going to be. I put this in at the last minute because I've run into a lot of what I would call landmines with certain offers that I thought would do well and they did not. There are certain offers that are just a lot harder to sell, and so I wanted to put this in to make sure you guys are aware of it. Continuity offers, so any type of subscription thing, newsletter, membership site, anything like that that's like, I don't know, under $100 a month or under $200 a month, those type of continuity things. They are very, very hard to sell unless you sell them either on a trial, like a $1 trial for like 2 weeks kind of thing, or you sell a premium with them, which is like, I'll sell, like when I did my 1,000 buyers a day course, that was a course that I knew people really, really wanted. So I sold the 1,000 buyers a day course. All the copy was about that. And then I basically just tacked on the newsletter membership on the back end of that. So when it comes to continuity offers, if you try to just sell them outright, it is really, really hard. If you have a really good relationship with your list, you kind of can, but I mean, it's an uphill push. It's not easy to do.
You want to at least give something right away, because otherwise people, it's like with these live trainings, what we promoted for this, people will wait till the last minute because they don't get anything until the actual moment that the thing starts. So if you just send out new things at the start of every month, they don't have a reason to subscribe at any other time. For my Emails of the Month Club, which is a $47 a month membership, you get five my best email templates ever right away when you buy. So the sales page is essentially about those five templates you get right away, and then you also get these five on the first Monday of every month. So there's a reason to opt in now, or to buy now and become a buyer, just like Golf had his was get the 1,000 buyers a day course to get onto the newsletter. There's this reason to sign up now rather than waiting till the next issue of the thing comes out.
Live events. If you are in the kind of info product business and you do live events, I've done, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 at this point. Honestly, actually, probably more than that. Every single time, even when I think one's going to hit, it just is always an absolute grind trying to sell a live event. There's just so many hurdles with a live event. So there's people got to make the dates work. People have to, a lot of people are going to have to get babysitters for their dog, their kids. Travel. I mean, there's a lot of people just flat out don't like traveling, don't like going through the airport process. They got to spend money on travel, hotels. They might drive there. Live events just have a ton of hurdles. So in most cases, you're just better off, unless you're going to promote something higher ticket at the live event. You're almost better off just in terms of money, just promoting some type of course. It's a lot easier just to sell a course or something they can just buy from their computer than it is to get them to travel to a live event. Other people's high ticket offers, if you try to sell those without a webinar, try to sell those without a phone team, it is a uphill slog. I've tried it 3 or 4 times, never have had a whole lot of success with it. It's just very, very tough to do. It definitely can be done through a webinar, and when you got a phone team, you pretty much kind of need to do that though, from what I've seen. And this is kind of the last one goes back to what Ian and I talked about, which is offers that are very different from what they originally bought to get on the list. Even in the same niche. So I was talking with a guy who's in the golf niche, and he was telling me how their physical golf club buyers, he's like, they won't buy any of our digital products. But he's like, the digital guys will buy like all the physical stuff. The digital guys are just way better buyers. I'm like, that makes sense because the digital guys are like more about the learning and figuring out their swing and like the actual like education aspect. Whereas the physical ones are just like, I'm gonna buy this club and it's gonna fix everything. It's kind of how like supplement buyers are. Like supplement buyers, their mode of fixing health problems is supplements and not like an ebook with 15 different foods that they're going to eat that's going to fix their prostate.
Yeah, and with physical, so supplements are similar to a physical product or even a software as a service. So I would put all those kind of categorically similar in a way that you can, when you're selling an info product, you essentially want to sell the what and not the how. Or like in my case, I'll give like 90% of everything and then sort of leave the last 10% for the course, just so there's value in the webinars and stuff I do. But when it comes to a supplement or a serv like even a SaaS, like, or a software in general, you can give away everything because they can't succeed unless they actually get the supplement or the software. Like they could literally watch you use the software, understand the entire business model, but know that if they don't have the software, they're not going to succeed. So keeping that in mind, like you can give away all of the content. You don't have to hold anything back when you're selling physical stuff. But you do tend to have to hold back a little bit on the digital side.
All right. Any questions on the sweet spot offer in terms of from your own list, getting the data? We're going to obviously go into other ways to get the data and how to determine what your sweet spot offer is. By the way, the whole probably half this presentation is about the sweet spot offer because it's the most important part. And then we'll move on to the other part, like the emails and stuff like that. All right, some of the questions coming in. So this means we need to segment our list according to this data. No, you don't have to. I don't segment mine. I've
Yeah,
always been just to keep it simple.
yeah, and this also goes into like one of the advantages to a smaller list is that you don't have to do as much shit. Like Golf's list is much more focused on copy and email. I have a lot of people from the biz ops side who want to learn how to make money online because the list has grown a lot. When I had 10,000, even 5,000 people, it was easier because everybody was interested in the same shit. So I will sometimes do what I call a reverse opt out, where at the bottom of an email or at the top, it'll say, hey, if you don't want to receive any more emails about this 5-figure launches from Tiny List promo, click here and you won't get anything about this. You'll still be on my main list. Now, I've had people who click the wrong unsubscribe link, so it's best to put it at the top. But that way, I'm not hammering these people who don't care. Or you can have people raise their hand if you're promoting something totally obscure, like, hey, you interested in this? They click, you tag them, you only send to them. But most people overthink all that shit. The segments that I use are my 90-day openers, anyone who's ever opened an email, and 30-day and 7-day engages. So like the final email I sent today went to the 30-day engages, but I normally would have sent that to the 7-day because if they haven't opened over the last 7 days, they're not probably buying in this next hour. But my list is bigger and I have to think about some of these things from a deliverability perspective. But most people overthink a lot of the segmentation, tagging, and things like that until you're at a certain level. But even beyond that, most of these health guys are just promoting everything to everyone, even if they've got a 1,000,000-person list. So don't overthink it. And then I just want to really quick on this question here. When you hold things back, how do you know how much to hold back? The simplest thing to focus on is just the what, not the how. So tell them what to do, not how to do it. And a really good example, I had a buddy who had this product called Incline Cardio, and the sales page was really good. And it was basically a story about him walking uphill and how all the fat burned off, and it was legit and all these things. And then he was like, what you have to do is walk on an incline at a specific speed with a specific posture at a specific incline. So he gave you 90% of what you had to do, which is walk uphill after a workout for 15 minutes. But he didn't tell you the speed on the treadmill, the incline, and the posture to use. So it was basically 90% of it and just leaving out the final 10. So that's an example, is you're just sort of leaving out that final piece. Also, if you give people too much information, they don't have a reason to buy, and they will just take your information and go use that. And then you're doing them a disservice because you're giving them too much.
All right, so we're not going to do a whole lot of questions. There's a lot of questions here on list building and stuff like that. That's really not what this call is about. So I'm going to skip over some of those. Ian is going to do a training on that you guys are going to get for free for purchasing this. So you can watch that if you want. Philip, your question about the continuity offer. Honestly, I would not recommend a continuity offer as your front end thing to put people onto your list. It's just pretty much too hard to make the economics of it work. If you're going to be buying traffic or paying affiliates, it's really not possible to make it work. So I would avoid that.
Continuities are better on the back end for once you have a list, and obviously the free trial stuff. This could be a whole course on that, so I don't want to go deep into it, but it's always lower quality people. You get a lot of people leaving. It increases customer service, but it can be worth it. It just depends on what you're trying to do. You're running a lifestyle business that's going to be more based on, fun and not having a bunch of bullshit to deal with, or you're just trying to get as many humans in there as possible. Then you probably want to downsell to a free trial or $1 trial.
All right, I'm going to keep going. So we got a lot to cover here. All right, so if you do not have data for your own list, and you're trying to figure out what to promote to that list, the best thing to do is kind of follow what other people's lists are doing in your niche. Now, there's honestly not a whole lot to teach about this, except literally just get on other lists in your niche and start looking at what they're promoting. What are the topics of the offers that they're promoting? What is the actual offer? Is it a physical product? Is it a course? Is it a live event? what's the price point of it, what's the angle they're using on it. So if they're doing a list building course, what is the kind of unique hook to separate that from every other list building course out there? These are the things you really want to watch. And if you see them consistently promoting things over and over and over again, that's a good sign that it's working.
And let me just go on one thing. Don't fucking steal this stuff. Like, this industry is full of such shitty people. It's absolutely outrageous. There's people who will straight up copy your sales page, create the same offer, name it the same thing essentially, and just know that whatever industry you're in, it's probably smaller than you think. And if you do that, it's not going to go well for you. It's also unethical and not a thing you should do. So use these things as inspiration, but never copy and paste things from their sales page. I've seen people literally just do that, where it's the same exact thing from their page. Don't go and name it the same thing. Like, actually be unique. Start from scratch with all of it, and just don't be a dick, essentially. Like, you can learn from other people, but don't promote somebody else's thing and then make your exact version of it and just rip them off. Like, I shouldn't have to say any of this, but I feel like it's important because so many people don't have morals.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of finding something that's working and keep the guts of it, like 70, 80% of it the same, and then put your unique twist on the 20, 30% of it. But as Ian said, like, that means you're changing kind of the guts of the offer and the mechanism and the hook and the story and stuff like that. You're not simply copy and pasting someone's sales page or their ads or whatever it is. All right. So yeah, like I said, this one is really straightforward. Find other lists in your niche that are selling what you want to sell or similar stuff, and literally just figure out what they keep promoting. Get on, I don't know, 5 to 7 different lists, and really just pay attention to what they're promoting. Anybody have questions on that one before we hop into the Q test? Like I said, that one was pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot to teach you except just get on the list and pay attention to what they're doing.
And if they're promoting affiliate stuff, now here's where you can literally go and promote the same offer they're promoting. Like, if Mike Geary is promoting an offer to his main health list, that thing has been vetted. It is working. It is an offer that is converting super well. And you can literally then ethically go and promote the same thing. I actually recommend most newer people don't try to create all your own shit. Use other people's stuff until you dial in what works on that list, and then create your own product, unless you're like GolfRide, where you've created so many products that you know how to do it quickly and easily and that they're going to be good. So on the affiliate side, you can literally look at their list and then promote the same thing they're promoting.
All right. So the last one here. So we're still talking about coming up with the sweet spot offer. So the Q test, this is something I do pretty much every time. And honestly, every time I don't do it, the offer tends to not do anywhere near as well. So I'm literally creating a thing that I'm going to paste on my wall that I need to survey Q test before every single offer I put out. So I'm going to show you how it works. So like I said, I learned this from Brian Kurtz. He used to run Boardroom Bottom Line, which was like $100 million company in the direct mail space, but the principles all apply to everything we're doing online as well. Basically, what they did was they did these little surveys to their buyers to try to figure out which kind of book they would want to buy next. And it's such a super simple thing. I'll put one note in here. I've never tried it with physical products. It works for info products, works really, really well. So any type of course, event, webinar, anything you're going to sell digitally or kind of information product type thing, it'll work well for this. So I have an example of it. I'm going to show you guys in a second. You basically present a number of options to your list, and you simply ask them, would you buy this? Would you not buy this? So I'm going to pull up the example I have here. Ian, can you see the example?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, I put this in the SurveyMonkey, sent it out to my list. So I will say one thing. Most surveys tend to be crap, and people tend to they're not great at telling you what they really want. This thing works insanely well, and I have not found anything that works better yet. So basically, I put together 8 different potential courses I was going to create, and I sent out this thing. Here's a couple ideas I have for new trainings I'm considering putting together. I'd like to know which ones you're interested in. Simply select the I would purchase this or I would not purchase this button below each option. Your input will help me create the trainings that you want and that'll benefit you the most. Then I just describe each one, how to make big money from small lists. This would be an in-depth training on how you can make a healthy 6 figures from lists that only have 300, 500, or 1,000 people on them. And the person can simply click, I would purchase this, I would not purchase this. Next one, how to make 2 to 3 times more money from every email you write with the 5x5 email system. And I kind of go and describe it. There's a big difference between email copy that checks all the boxes and email copy that's written so well it practically forces people to buy. In real world terms, I've seen great copywriters produce 2 times the revenue of so-so copywriters to the same list, to the same offers. This 5x5 email system will show you how to do that. And they can simply put, I will purchase this, I will not purchase this. So that's literally all the thing is. And you're asking them a simple question. I will purchase this. I will not purchase this. You can add price points, but the price points have to be all the same. Otherwise, it's going to affect it. Personally, I haven't seen any difference with not adding the price point. So I don't think it's going to make any type of difference. But going back, so once you do this to your list and you get the data, here's basically the way I take it. If an offer gets above a 70% yes rate, then it's probably an offer that's going to do well to my list. If it gets above an 80%, everyone I've done that's been above an 80% has been a huge hit every single time. It was a huge hit when I did it in the health niche, huge hit when I've done it with my current list. I've probably done it, I don't know, 7 or 8 times. So if something's above an 80%, I know it's going to be, my list is going to want it and just gobble it up. One thing I will note, some people I've taught this process to, they'll just take whatever one performs the best and create it. But if that top one's not above like 70%, say your top one's like 50%, I wouldn't create any of the offers. So go back to the drawing board and come up with 6 or 7 new ideas because none of those are really appealing enough to your list. Does this make sense to everybody? I want to make sure I kind of ran through that. And not a whole lot of people are kind of familiar with the process. So feel free to pop some questions.
When you say 70, 80%, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah. So when you get the results, let's say 1,000 people fill out the survey. Each one, the results in SurveyMonkey is going to say it'll be, I don't know, 72% of people said yes, that they would purchase this. So then I know it's a good one. Like
They
I said,
can pick multiple, right? You let them pick.
yes, they pick basically every single one on there. They say yes or no to it. It's not just like pick which one you want the most.
Got it.
Yeah, really important to do it that way. Yeah, it works. Like I said, I first realized the power of this when Brian taught it to me. I was trying to create all these health products. And at the time, Brian let me know like what were the top 5 books at Boardroom at the time. And I started just inserting one of like the top books that Boardroom would do every single time into my survey just to see how it would test. And like the first 3 surveys I did, all my responses were getting like 40, 50, 60%. And then the Boardroom book would get like 85%. And it was like, shit. Like that makes sense why he sold 10 million copies of that book because every single time it's the best performing one on the test.
Yeah, and so we can go into, you can ask more questions about his way of doing it, which I think is a great way of doing stuff. I have a different way of doing it that is really based on laziness, but also largely on the fact that if I get a certain amount, that's how I know what I'm doing. So kind of to say to Tommy, he's asking how many responses do you need for valid data? If it's 12,000, it's this. It depends on your list, and you kind of learn what it is that list, how they respond, right? So I remember, to give you guys an example, and I'll share my screen in a second. There was a reply email I sent out. I can't remember what it was about, maybe about deliverability or something. And my buddy, Andrew Clark, who's like one of the best deliverability people in the world, responded and was like, oh, this is a genius email, great for deliverability too. He was the only person who responded. I've never had an email bomb that bad in my life. But to him, he's like, oh, it's good. So I knew whatever that was, I can't remember what it was, but it's like, I'm not going to do whatever the thing was I was going to do. But you kind of learn as your list grows and stuff too, how many responses is a good amount of responses. So we ended up, let me just turn off do not disturb here. We had, I just looked and my list is only 2,700 people when I sent this thing. And I'll show you guys this and share my screen here. Can you enable screen sharing for me? Go off.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So let's start with this one. So this was one I sent way back when I was thinking about launching my Emails of the Month Club. Would you be interested, literally subject line templates. Would you be interested in Emails of the Month Club where I send you a handful of fill in the blank email templates every month? It would basically be emails like these, which this opened to this page, which I had already had like buy these one time so they could kind of get a feel for what it was. Just fill in the blanks and send them. I've already done the hard work and tested the emails for you. Hit reply and let me know if you'd be into it. If there's interest, I'm going to make it happen. These are the same emails I charged $1,500 per email for. Same templates my friend Jerry West made $80K from. This first one got like over 200 responses. And so I was like, okay, this is going to work. Like it was, and my list was, 2,700, it looked like. So it's like 10% of my list responded to me, literally hit reply. And I launched it and made 10K a month the next. I've now, it makes more than that, but I've had that business. I've been making money from this thing for 5 years now. It's probably done $500,000 in sales or more, just from actually more than that. So just from asking this simple question. Now there are levels you can go to with your, and this is really important. Like Golf and I've been saying, this offer over everything. There are ways to ensure that you actually are getting good responses too, rather than just people going yes, and they just say that, but they don't know the price. They don't know what it really looks like or what it would be. So the more specific you are in your initial email, the more likely you are to find out if it's truly going to succeed. So you could say, hey, this is going to, you could have all these people respond to the Emails a Month Club, and then I go, oh, it's $500 a month. And they go, oh, fuck you, that's not what I'm going to pay. Right. So this one is from a recent one. So I'd said, I've been going deep into some new reality creation techniques the past few weeks. Results have been amazing so far. 100,000 profit less than a week, sold out comedy show, effortless fat loss, clear as skin, insane amounts of energy. I'm fascinated by the power of the mind and its ability to create new versions of your life. So I have an idea. If I did a one-off virtual workshop where I showed you my favorite reality creation engineering techniques, would you want to attend? It wouldn't be free. So this is important to put in these little pieces. It would be pay what you want. You could pay $100 or $1, anything in between, or more if you're feeling abundant. The workshop would happen next week. It would be a live training on Zoom where I show my favorite techniques, take you through a visualization meditation on the call. I would also record it so you could watch it whenever you want. If you want me to do the training, just reply to this email and say, I'd buy it. Now, this is important because this is a presupposition. It's basically a commitment in Cialdini's influence. There's commitment and consistency. So people commit, they want to be consistent with what they commit to. So I'm getting people to say, I'd buy it, as opposed to just yes, because then in their subconscious, they've already said, yes, I would buy it. And I said, if I get at least 100 responses, I'll do it. If not, I'll just move on and keep these techniques to myself. The reason that I put that there is because lots of people are just going to be window watchers, right? And they're going to be like, oh, everybody else will respond. But when you throw in that little comment, you're going to get people who are actually going to respond and say, yes, I'd buy it. So I got like 350, 400 responses. It was a ton. And so immediately I know, because I also told them the price. I told them that it'd be live on Zoom and that it would be recorded, which people still ask, no matter what. No matter how times you say a fucking training will be recorded, will this be recorded? Yes, I said it every day for the last 6 days. But so the more specific you are, the higher quality the data you're getting is. The shorter the email and the more you just go, would you be interested in this? You're going to get more feedback, but less quality. So it's kind of up to you how to do it. But I tend to I don't typically create a proper survey inside of a technology and shit. The email is my survey, and I know based on an influx of emails if it's going to work or not. That's my general way of doing it. I also know my list very well, similar to how golf does, but I've done the same thing in other niches as well, and it works very
Well,
well.
yeah, one thing I kind of want to share based on this, as you can see with a lot of what me and Ian do, we use a lot of the same principles. Ian is probably much more ready, fire, aim than I am. I'm much more very detailed on stats and tracking everything, and Ian's like kind of goes by feel a lot more, and both of them work. So, I mean, there's definitely probably areas where I could be way more ready, fire, aim, and there's probably areas where Ian could be more detailed. Um, it would probably benefit us both, but despite having very, very different kind of styles, they both work.
Yeah. And there's, that feel is something where like I write my emails, I send them out in active campaign myself, and I know kind of where my list is at in a given moment. I can feel their energy and like, are they into me right now, or have I been really pushing certain stuff hard and they're kind of like, hey, bro. And at that point, I'll sort of readapt and go. And again, but you could actually quantify that feeling through opens, replies, and clicks and data as well. But the more you're in the list each day, you kind of know what it is that is working and not working.
So I want to share this real quick. I shared with you guys the preview of the survey. So this is what the people see when they fill it out. This is the actual results that would be in the back end of the Survey Monkey. So here's the offer, how I did 1,000 buyers a day. So this one got 68% of the people said they would buy it. Here's the one on the 5x5 email system. This one got 74%, so that I could create that one. Here's one on research, got 71%. How to get your first 100 customers in the next 30 days. This got about 70. So this is kind of basically the way I look at it. So this one, big ideas. I had a feeling this would not do great because stuff on big ideas is pretty much only going to appeal to pretty high level copywriters. Like most, even intermediate people don't realize how important they are. So if I wanted to do something like big ideas, it would have to be a higher priced, smaller group kind of thing if I was going to sell that, because it's not going to be a mass appeal. So I could sell that, but it would be, all right, I'm going to do a higher priced $1,000 thing or whatever it is. All right. I wanted to share all that with you guys so you got a good idea of what the actual results.
You have an example one that got over 80?
The training I did with Ning got like 87, which is basically how to build an email list with a low priced pocket change offer. So basically it was just taking the list building angle that worked so well previously, and we put a new mechanism on it, which was the pocket change offer. And it worked great.
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right. Let me pull
And
this.
sometimes, just as a last kind of note here, because somebody I think had asked, how seriously do you take these? It's kind of the whole Henry Ford. If I asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. Instead I created the vehicle. There's levels to that, right? But sometimes you're ahead of the curve, and sometimes you can create demand for something that doesn't have demand existing. However, it's less likely, and it's like people who sometimes have joined my groups and masterminds and things, and I don't get their business. I'm like, I'm relatively smart. I've been in this for a while. If I don't get it, it means one of two things. Either it's not going to work, or it's going to make fucking hundreds of millions. But it's probably not going to work because I don't get it. And if somebody doesn't get it and there's not a clear demand there, an existing thing, like I said, you're either on the verge of something that is significantly going to take over a market, or it sucks. And it probably sucks. Probably.
All right. So quick recap on what we just went over with the sweet spot offer, coming up with that. Studying what offers have worked well to your list in the past. So that means what's the angle? What's the price point? What's the format? Is it physical? Is it digital? Watching what other lists in your niche are promoting, and then Q testing your list to see what they want to buy. That's really basically what I do every single time when I come up with the sweet spot offer. And I really just want to hammer that home again that this is the most important part of the email promo. You get this part wrong, none of anything else we teach you on the other 50 minutes of this call is going to matter. So you got to get the offer part correct because that's the foundation for the entire thing. Ian and I actually, I threw this slide in. Ian talked about it already. Basically, the more excited you are about an offer, the more it's going to come across in your emails and the better it's going to sell. This was something just Ian and I talked about a couple of weeks ago. We both kind of noticed the same thing. When we're really passionate about something and really want to teach it, it comes across and the people can feel that when they're reading your emails. So highly recommend trying to find offers that really kind of excite you and light you up.
And a quick note on that, like, so Golf had set up all the stuff on his end for this launch, and he does like a checkout page and basically bullets within the email, and his list is conditioned to that. So also understand your list will get conditioned to the way that you make offers. Ben Settle's going to sell expensive books or cheap ones on Kindle. Like, people get conditioned to your way of doing things. I had people emailing me going, I'm kind of confused as to what this is. Is this Justin's thing? Is this your thing? Is this? What I would have done, and this is nothing against what we did or what Justin did, it's to know your list and also your way of doing things. I would have a simple Sam Cut page. I use the same one each time, some bullets that I've written on there, and a VSL at the top. Now, the VSL for me is not a written video sales letter with a bunch of shit. There's going to be one of two ways that I do it. I'm either going to stand outside and I'm going to talk about it while I'm holding my iPhone, or I'm going to screen record something on Loom and talk. And the difference for me versus like Justin, but this is really important on this energetic piece. If I get on that video and I really give a fuck, you are going to hear that in my voice. I like video. I'm good on video. So that's going to come across, because I will also literally say stuff like, look, you're a fucking idiot if you don't get this. I don't say that often, but like this training, that's how I feel. Straight up, these promos are so important that on video, I'd be like, look, you're honestly a bit stupid if you don't do this. And my people trust me, and they'll watch those short 5 to 10 minute videos, 3 to 10 minute videos, and my energy will come through. Where if I'm like, here's how to come up with a big idea for a list, well, they're going to feel that as well. So always use your best mechanism of selling, your best strengths and abilities. If it's writing, write more. If it's video, use video. Like, do the thing that you're good at. Even hopping on a webinar, whatever it is, use your skills, and that energy will be, will shine through.
All right. So we covered the first part of the 5-figure email promo, which is the offer that hits the sweet spot of your list. Now we're going to look at the second part, and that is the payout. This part is super important. A lot of people promote offers, either their own or affiliate offers, without really giving a whole lot of thought to how much money they're going to make compared to other offers that they could promote. And that's really what you're comparing it against. Because if I'm going to promote, let's say I'm promoting this thing that Ian and I did, there was 4 or 5 other things I could have promoted. So in my head, I'm always comparing, like, how would this do in relation to something else I could promote? I could promote something I did in the past that I know would probably make me 20, 30 grand pretty easily. Or I could try to find an affiliate offer to promote. So you always want to be kind of comparing what you're going to promote to the other options you have. And a lot of that really boils down to the payout. So the way I think about the payout is we're always trying to maximize the earnings per subscriber for our email list. So a lot of people, especially in the affiliate world, always talk about earnings per click. I personally think that's a hugely flawed statistic, and I really care much more about earnings per subscriber. So, like, if I'm talking to Ian and I'm like trying to find an offer to promote to my list, I would be like, what offer have you promoted this year that's literally made you the most money? I don't give a shit what the EPC was. Just, you promoted 15 offers this year. Which one was number one?
Yeah,
because I would want to promote that one.
EPC is based on a flawed stat, which is you can skew the amount of clicks based on how qualifying or disqualifying your email is. I could write a super short email, get an ass load of clicks, which would show lower EPC, but get maybe more buyers. or I could write a long ass email with a bunch of disqualification, only get 60 clicks, 25 buy, and you go, oh my God, my EPC is worth $20. It's like, yeah, that's a flawed stat though. It's based on how many people are on there, not how many people clicked and then did it.
Right. Yeah. In the end, like I said, the stat that matters is earnings per subscriber. So, and that's literally simply the amount of money you make divided by the number of people on your list. So I'll give you a couple examples of my list here. I keep track of these for every promo I do. So when I did my list building course in January, that hit $9.50 per subscriber. When I did Brent's course in April, that hit $4.17 per subscriber. When I promoted the Copy Legends swipe file in, I think, March, that did $2.36 per subscriber. So those were all anywhere from, I think it was like $22,000 to about $89,000 what I made in total on those. But the money per subscriber is what I'm always trying to maximize on the promotion. That's the final number that I really care about.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you're going to touch on this here, but there's things other than just the payout that matter. Like, let's take this promo for example with Golf and I could have created this by myself and maybe made the same amount of total money or more or less, and I'd keep 100%. Him and I are just splitting this equally. We're not like, you got this many. It's an equal split. So you could go, well, we made half as much as we would have made if either one of us had promoted it individually. However, we also get the buyers from that other person's list as well as the exposure. Like Golf's name was just mentioned in front of 40,000 people for nearly a week. A lot of those people, because this list is more broad now, who may not have known who he was, who now may go opt in and Google him or find his shit or whatever. I got exposure to all his people as my name was mentioned in front of them. And then you also get the buyers. So it's not always just like, this is, I think, where a lot of people are really short term about email is they look at that week. How did it go that week? Well, what is also the long-term benefit? Did you acquire 50 buyers that actually are going to join your mastermind and be worth another 30, 40 grand that you didn't expect, that became because you used somebody else's list? Like, there are those other intangible, well, there are tangible once you look at the data over time and the LTV of it. But so keep that stuff in mind too, is there are other benefits of exposure and things where maybe that week it's not as much. But also one thing that's really important here is like, if you have just done a promo of say a 2K offer and you had a bunch of people buy it on your list and then you promote something else that next week, your list has less money than they did the week before, and it will affect that next week's promotion. So like, keep in mind that it's not all just, clear, this is what it is. Sometimes you make a mistake and you promote an offer in tax week. But I can tell you that from April 7th to April 15th, people are in scarcity. And you can have a promo that would have gone well not go as well because people are all worried about their taxes or this, or it's the week after and they get a fucking whatever the refund or whatever, which people think is real money that they got refunded. No, the government fucked up. They're like, oh, the government gave me money back. No, they stole money from you. They were wrong. They were fucking bad at their job, and then they gave it back, and now you think it's a gift. They stole your money. Like, that is not a good thing. But anyways, so there's a lot of factors, but yeah, there's my one rant, Stacy. But just keep in mind that there are other things that can make promos worthwhile, as well as promoting something that you give a fuck about. Like, a lot of people will only look at EPCs and they won't care about their list. I can tell you that I did a 150, I can't remember what it was, maybe 150 grand or something from Brent Charlton's course. I feel really good about that. And now on top of that, people who go through that and do that are going to associate that growth in their life with me, and then they're going to buy more stuff. Right. So there's other pieces that I just wanted to quickly rant on that.
Okay, so going back, we're talking about the earnings per subscriber. Keep in mind, it's not enough to simply promote a high converting offer. This is a big mistake I see a lot of people make. It also has to have a high average order value, and if it's an affiliate offer, it has to have a high payout if you want to maximize the earnings per subscriber. So I just want to check in real quick. Does everybody kind of understand the whole earnings per subscriber, the payout, and really trying to maximize that. So you could have a great, awesome sweet spot offer, but if it's has a really bad payout or if the AOV on it is really low, you're not going to have that kind of big hit home run kind of offer that you're looking for. So I'm going to show you a bunch of examples of this to really kind of drive the point home here. So promoting your own offer versus promoting an affiliate offer. A couple examples here. If I promote my own $1,000 offer and I sell 30 copies of it, I'm going to make $30,000. If I promote an affiliate offer for $1,000 and I sell 30 copies of it, I make $15,000. So I'm getting paid 50% commission. So just on economics alone, that affiliate offer is going to have a really hard time making me the same amount of money that I would make if I'm promoting my own offer, simply because I'm just getting paid 50% of it. Now this varies on affiliate offers, like higher ticket stuff, you get like 50%, lower ticket stuff, you usually get 90 or 100%. So on the lower ticket stuff, it's not as big of a deal, but on a higher ticket thing, it makes a huge difference. So like that could be the difference between 50 grand and 100 grand or 75 grand and 150 grand. So keeping the economics of that and the payout in mind. Like I said, a lot of people just don't even think about this and they just promote they just promote all affiliate offers when it's like, if you were promoting your own stuff, you'd be making twice as much money.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't ask is the simplest question, can I get a higher payout? So like I remember I was doing one with, I won't mention their name just in case they're promoting stuff and don't want to tell people this, but he's a friend of mine, says like it was a 50% commission. I said, can I get 75? He said, yeah, absolutely. And the difference was I made, like if I'm going to promote somebody's thing and just put in a bit of work over that like week to sell, I want it, my goal is 25,000. Now, if it's an easy thing, there's no webinar and it does 10 to 15, I really would like 15 at least. And I don't have to like do a webinar and I like the course and the person. Probably not now, it'd have to be more than 15. But when I did this, it was 15,000 that I made and I would have made 10. And that would have been kind of annoying. And there was another person I promoted something and I was like, yeah, if I got 75%, I would do this again, but I wouldn't do it again at the 50. It just isn't quite worth it. And then a lot of affiliates will give, 75%. I know when Golf promoted my promo tab offer back in the day, it was a $99 front end. So I just said, hey, you get 100% of that. You get 99. You get $100 a sale. And that's because it's going to be tough for him to make it worth it at 50. So the worst that happens is the affiliate says, no, I won't go any higher, which is their own greed. And something I got to give a lot of credit to Golf for is he is like the least greedy person when it comes to payouts. He's really good about being like, let me pay you a high percentage because he understands the long-term value. If you can even just get buyers for free and you break even on that buyer, that's an incredibly valuable thing to put on your list. And the difference is people get caught up in the short term and the greed of that immediate gain of like, okay, well, I'm promoting a $500 offer and I want to make $250 on every buy. Well, what if you only made $50 on a buy? You gave them 95%. You covered your little expenses or whatever. Now the difference is not the $250 a buy that you didn't make. It's that person will promote again in 2 months and again in 3 months and again, because instead of making 20K, they made 45. And at 45,000, they go, fuck yes, I'll promote this all day. And so that's the difference, is asking for those commissions and ending up giving a better payout or getting a better payout. There's the long-term gain of actually making money over time. And I'll just say this real quick, is if you do CPL stuff, which is cost per lead, so you pay somebody, let's say in the health space, it's traditional to pay $2 a lead. And what Joel Marion at BioTrust would do is he would say, hey, it's $2 a lead. He would track the LTV. If they were worth $3, he'd go to that person and say, hey, I'll pay you $3 a lead if you commit to sending 4 times a month. So instead of getting a little bit more, instead of thinking of it as paying 50% more, he was paying 50% more to get 4 times the traffic. So it's the people who are greedy with what they pay who end up paying the price over the long term. That doesn't mean be an idiot. Like that's why CPA offers are tough if you're paying above. Like if you're doing an average order value of $50 and you're paying affiliates 80, you can lose your ass if they send you shitty people. But if it's controlled, you can do very well. So,
All right.
do you mind if we do a quick pee and water break?
I'll keep rolling. Feel free to.
Go ahead. I'm going to do that.
All right. So again, we're talking about the payout. We're talking about maximizing your earnings per subscriber. There's a huge difference between getting a mediocre affiliate payout versus a good affiliate payout when you're promoting something to your list. So if I promote a $97 affiliate offer at a 50% payout and I make 100 sales, I'm going to make $4,850. If I promote that same offer at a 90% payout and I make 100 sales, I'm going to make $8,730. So literally twice the amount of money, simply by getting a more appropriate payout. So if you're doing an affiliate promo, you always want to make sure you're getting the best payout possible. And as Ian and I kind of talked about, if it's high ticket something, if you're promoting $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 thing, you should be getting 50% commissions, potentially maybe 50% standard. So almost pretty much everything I promote's 50%. If you can drive a ton of sales, you could potentially bump that up to maybe like 55 or 60. If you're promoting a low ticket offer, something under $100, you should be getting somewhere around 90% of the commissions. Really what you're doing is helping that person build their list. They shouldn't care about making money off of that. They should care about the fact that you're sending them 100 new buyers who just spent $100 or whatever they spent. So when you're promoting low ticket, so you really just always want to maximize what you're getting paid on these affiliate payouts. Because if you do it on one promo and then you maximize it on the next one, well, let's say you do 25 different promos in a year, and you maximize every single one of them, just think how much that adds up, how much more money you're going to make over the course of a year. All right. Look at another example that affects your earnings per subscriber. No upsells on an offer versus good upsells on an offer. So if I promote a $97 offer with no upsells and I make 100 sales, I make $8,730. If I promote a $97 offer with good upsells and I make 100 sales, I'm going to make around $22,000. And that's just based on data I've had from kind of $97 offers in the past. So not having good upsells on an offer is probably one of the dumbest things you can do. And without a doubt, one of the dumbest things I have done personally this year, mostly out of just laziness and trying to keep everything simple with my business. I kind of just did some rough numbers on paper the other day, and I've probably left $200,000 on the table this year by not having upsells when I do these 1-day trainings.
Yeah, I even said to Goff, I was like, if we do an upsell here, we'll make an extra 20 or 30 grand. We didn't, but that's okay because there's other ways.
Yeah, I mean, he's 100% right. I am going to put it in place for future offers. But yeah, when you're promoting someone else's offer, if they don't have any upsells, like you're probably, if you could normally make $5,000 on that promo, you could probably make $10,000 if they have good upsells in place. So definitely always ask about that when you're promoting somebody else's stuff. All right. Questions on that? Does it make sense to everybody in terms of the payout, maximizing the earnings per subscriber? So that's the second part of the email promo triad. Part one was getting that sweet spot offer that really appeals to the 5% of the list that is repeat buyers, that those are your core people that are going to always buy. Part two is making sure you maximize the payout that you're going to get. Any questions on that before we move on to part three?
Think of payout if it's your own offer and your own is just 100%.
Yeah, so when it's your own, you're just trying to maximize the earnings per subscriber.
Jonathan, so when calculating EPS on a subscription like My Emails the Month Club, do you calculate based on the initial purchase or base it on historical lifetime value? So I'm going to be promoting Emails the Month Club at the end of every month, no matter what. I don't really care what it is. Like that's like I view a real business versus like an offer or a thing is, do you have a low ticket front end to acquire customers or a free lead capture? do you have a high ticket back end that you can use to monetize people on the list and help them in a big way? And do you have a recurring income offer? Now, not everybody should or will ever have all those things. I do, and it makes my life super nice because all my hard expenses are covered by the subscription of just like Emails of the Month Club. But I'm not going to focus on that first day value. But what we look at on our traffic that we buy is like how much we're making over the course of 3 to 6 months from the people who are saying subscribed. But that's all done within a software as opposed to manually calculated.
Yvonne said, any thoughts about how to create the best upsells possible? Yes, I mean, that's a entire different call in itself, but I have a video on my YouTube channel about upsells. I'd highly suggest you watch that. The quick answer is, like if you're selling an info product on the front end, whatever you can do to get them the result faster. So if I'm selling a copywriting course on the front end, the first upsell is going to be a bunch of done for you templates that make things easier, more done for them, help them get results faster, anything like that. If you're selling something like supplements, physical product, you can always sell them more of what they just bought, bigger size, larger quantity, stuff like that. Lots of ways to do it, but yeah, I have a video, like I said, on my YouTube you can watch.
This call.
Yeah, it's definitely beyond what we're talking about here. Paul said, is there an EPS benchmark you've seen for high ticket fitness? No, but I mean, every single list is going to react differently. So kind of just get your own benchmark based on things you've promoted before. So if you promoted things to your list, you should have some type of idea like, okay, I'm making around $1 per subscriber. I'm making $3 per subscriber when I promote this. So just kind of get an idea for where your list is hitting, and then that's how you're going to gauge it. Cool. All right. We're going to jump down to part 3. All right. So we just did the recap. All right. I just want to check in real quick. Has this been eye-opening, helpful for you guys so far? The stuff that Ian and I have taught in terms of nailing kind of the 5-figure promo. Parker said next level stuff. Yes. Yep. That's good stuff. Thank you. Awesome. All right. So the promo itself, this is like I said, the sexy part. This is what everybody wants to know about. And honestly, when Ian and I promoted this is really what we should have focused on because this is really what you guys want. Anytime in my emails I talked about like the offer stuff, nobody gave a shit. All anybody really cares about is the emails. So that was kind of, it's funny. It's like one of those things where you're just reminded, like I knew that because I've had that happen before. But it goes back to what Ian said with selling people what they want and then you give them what they need. In order to have a really good email promo, you need the first 2 things we taught you. But what we're about to talk about now is really the stuff that,
the sexy part.
The sexy part, yes. All right, so we nail the sweet spot offer and we nail the payout. Those are the first 2 legs of the email promo tripod. Now we're going to architect the promo. And that involves how many days your promo should be, how many emails you're going to send, what you're going to actually say in the emails, watching the sales stats and doubling down on angles that are working, adjusting as the promo goes on, kind of based on the feedback you're getting from your list and from your emails, and then really hammering home the final day of the promo because that's when 30 to 40% of your sales are going to come in. That last day is really the big windfall. So really going on hammering home that day. So we're going to go through all of this, and then we'll go through actual examples of the emails after that. Yeah, we'll hit on pricing as well. If you guys got questions on that, I'll take questions on that as well. A lot of the pricing stuff is very niche dependent. So I plan on us talking about it, but I don't have a ton of slides on it. All right. How many days should your promo be? So there's really no set number of days. The ones I tend to run either 6 days or 8 days. So I usually will do it from Tuesday to Sunday. or I'll do it from Tuesday to Tuesday. So one thing I've realized, Tuesday is usually the best day to start promos on. Monday, people are just getting back to work. They got a lot of stuff on their plate. People tend to be pretty busy on Monday. So I'll do like a pre-launch email Monday to kind of prepare them for what's coming Tuesday. Tuesday's a better day I found to actually start a promo. And then depending on how long you want to do it, like I said, you could do 6 days and end it on a Sunday. You could do 8 days, end it on a Tuesday. Really doesn't matter, honestly. I've done both. I still do both. Both of those work. But I would not start it on a Monday. Don't start a promo on a Friday. Friday, without a doubt, is always the worst day. People are in weekend mode. They're making plans. The last thing on their mind is whatever the hell you're talking about. Might be a little different in your, like, if you're a niche like dating or something where everybody's going out and making plans, like Friday might do better than Monday. But for most niches, Friday's a pretty bad day.
Yeah, I've started plenty on Mondays and it works. Just it's an extra day. Especially if I'm doing a webinar on a Thursday. So if I'm doing like a webinar promo that runs till that Sunday night, I almost always do my webinars on a Thursday. So I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning to promote to get on the webinar, and then Thursday afternoon replay, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to the replay and checkout page.
Yep. So the key here really with the promo is that you have an actual deadline when the offer goes away. This is really, really critical for pushing the urgency. So like Ian and I with this call, there's a pretty natural deadline because we're doing the call live. So there's only so much time you have to sign up. Your goal is to create some type of actual deadline. There's multiple ways you can do that. Here's a couple of ones I always do. Literally, I'm going to take it down so that the offer goes away completely. One thing you could do is add special bonuses that are only available during the promo. So if I'm promoting this thing for 7 days and they can get this really juicy bonus that they really, really want, but it's only available during those 7 days, that's going to add urgency at the deadline. If you're offering a special price or a special payment plan that's only available during that actual promotion, that's going to add a lot of urgency where, hey, on Sunday, this is going away. So like I said, those are pretty straightforward, but you really want to have you want to have the promo end in some way that something is getting taken away, that if they buy it tomorrow, they're not going to be able to get it.
Yeah,
All right. I'll answer some of these questions. There's a bunch that came in here.
Yeah. I want to say one thing here is it's also really important to have a reason why for a promo. So this is something so many people miss, and I'd put it up there with the importance of the offer itself and the pricing and stuff. Now, if you're doing a launch, there's not so much a reason why. Like you're launching a new thing, but why are you closing it? We're closing it because we're taking a testing group through this. I'm only opening it to 50 people. I want to make sure, I want to get those people as much attention as possible. But if you're going to do like even $20 off, $50 off, 25%, some sort of thing, give them a reason why. Why could be as simple as I went and visited my parents and we were talking about money and I realized how important what I learned about money from them is. So I'm going to give 25% off my Remove Your Money Blocks course for the next week. It's my birthday sale. It's some sort of holiday, whatever it is, give a reason why for that thing so that people understand why you're doing it. Otherwise, you're training them to just wait for discounts that exist for no reason other than you need money. Right. And that could be a reason. I've seen some people, I won't say who, but I saw a guy who did that recently for like $1,000 for something. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be rich? Like, why do you care about $1,000 unexpected payment that happened? That's kind of weird. But like, it could be literally, I just went to Europe and spent $25,000 on that trip and I want money. So I'm going to ethically bribe you by taking 50% off one of my most popular courses. It could be as simple as that, but having a reason why is very important to your promo and to the deadline. Because people go, why don't you just leave it open forever?
Yep.
Well, and then you tell them why.
All right, so I'm answering some of the questions that popped in here. John, you asked about pricing. So the big thing I've noticed with pricing this year, um, I've noticed anytime I don't offer payment plan options, there's a lot of resistance to buying. Uh, and I've talked with a few other people, and they're seeing this in a lot of other niches as well. Payment plans just seem to be people are just tighter on money, I think, than they were last year or the year before. And payment plans just generally make those easier. Like even something like this that's $197, simply offering a two payment plan of 99 bucks gets a bunch more buyers that we wouldn't have normally got. So that's probably the biggest thing I've really noticed this year with pricing. And that is a difference from kind of where I saw things last year. So finding payment plans, and then also, I mean, if you want to do like lower ticket stuff, making up that money with higher ticket stuff as the upsells. Alex said, what's the least amount of subscribers you need to have to hit a five-figure promo? I mean, Ian and I have both done it with like 100, 200 subscribers. A lot of it depends on the relationship you have with the list and who's on the list. I mean, you got 100 people who are all make $500,000 a year. It's gonna be pretty fucking easy to have a five-figure promo. Ian, you lost your
Sell
audio.
one $10,000 thing or whatever. There's that's such it's a loaded question because, and it's also it's a cop out from it. Totally depends on the list. What's the size? What's the quality? What are you
Yeah.
selling? All those different things.
Yep. Somebody asked if you guys get this presentation in PDF. Yes, you do. You guys get everything we're doing. Jack said, do your promos ever go to a book a call? Is there a difference in how you create the offer if it's for a call? The same offer principles still apply. Because a lot of what you do on a book a call kind of funnel is you're just doing a higher ticket version of like my list building course I sold for $197. I could easily sell a $2,000 list building course that just has a little more done for you stuff built in or has more access to me. The offer is really not any different. It's literally just charging more.
So going back to how that list bought is how they will buy in the future as well. I paid a guy $80,000 to promote something. We did the book call funnel, which had made us millions of dollars. Works really well. Made like, I mean, it was like, holy shit, I just made the worst purchase of my life. Made like 4,000, maybe $6,000 or $8,000 or something in the first week. The second week, did a webinar to the same offer, sold 50,000. So that list, literally 50,000 versus like 6 or 8,000. That list doesn't like book calls. They don't want to get on the phone. They bought the original course, if they got on that, from a webinar. They opted in for a webinar. Therefore, they like webinars. So, book call stuff can work really well, but it's a whole different business model, and there's a million things going on there. But again, keeping in mind what works to one list that's used to book calls may not work to another list that's used to webinars or that's used to, just simple checkout pages like Justin had on his, where his list knows, I know what this is, I know what I'm getting, and they get it. It's like it all depends on that list.
Yep. Parker said, what about raising prices after the deadline and keeping the product evergreen? Yeah, you can definitely do that. You're going to raise prices afterwards. So this is the last chance to get it at this price. That definitely works. Suzanne, yes, I believe the recording will have the chat. I'll try to make sure we have it as long as Zoom as long as Zoom gives me that.
Ian, do you allow people to join email anytime, or is it only open for a few days at a time? People can join emails Monk Club at any time. It's also the first upsell after people buy the welcome template. It's always open, but this is what I call like time pressured selling. So there's a natural deadline every month before the first Monday of the next month to get the new 5 templates of the month and whatever new thing I'm teaching. So I only have to promote 2 to 4 emails at the end of that month. I don't have to do anything in between because I know that there's a natural deadline coming up at the end of the month. So it basically allows me to do what would take a week in 2 to 3 days because there's a natural deadline happening on the first Monday of every month. That makes sense. So it's always open. But if you miss that month, you can't get last month's. So it's not like people could just join in 3 months later and they get everything from the past because that would be unfair to all the people who are already in. So the deadline is not, it's this is going out on this day. If you miss it, you miss it. If you're not on the list, you're not going to get it.
Dylan asked, what's some lower ticket prices you could sell to an existing list? That totally depends on the list and the niche. I mean, anything from $7, $20, $27, $39, $49, $67, $97. Those all will work. Obviously, will vary depending on the niche. So it's kind of hard to tell you without knowing what niche you're talking about.
Said dating. Even or this guy, the net, which is said every this different mid-ticket sweet spot offers repeatedly worked well in the men's dating niche. I had a dating business. That was my first business. The $7 offers seem to work well in a lot of things, and then 47 and 97. I personally don't really like to go in between 47 and 97. I find that 67 is very similar to 97 or 47, or to 97. So I would either do 47 and 97 for that.
And that's another thing. Just go look at all the other dating businesses that are similar, see what they're doing. The formula's probably already been figured out, so you don't have to figure it out yourself. Hugh said, I have to promote a client offer that is higher ticket and will be measured on book calls. Will this stuff work for this? Yes.
Yeah.
In general, would you see a fall off from 97 to 47 to a new list who doesn't know me yet? Should I sweat over that?
Price test, like price test is always going to be one of the most important tests you can ever run. The difference in your niche may be dramatic, but again, always keep in mind the actual amount of money you make versus the conversion rate. And then keep in mind, do you want more buyers? Like, if your $47 buyer will turn into a $1,000 buyer and you can sell twice as many at 47, it's worth getting the $47 buyers rather than 97 because you're going to get more people that are going to buy something later. So, again, think with the end in mind, like if you want to run a legit business that's going to make you money for years, think about the long-term value of customers, not just the short-term, what did I make today?
All right. I'm going to keep going with we definitely got off track on that. So we talked about the promo, how many days it should be. Somewhere between 6 and 8 is what I tend to do, Tuesday to Sunday or Tuesday to Tuesday. You need to have an actual deadline. You want to have the offer go away in some way so that there's an actual deadline and urgency. Let's get into how many emails you should send. So when I've coached people on this, if you're newer and you've never run a big email promo, I would highly recommend just starting with 1 email a day and then maybe like 2 or 3 emails on the final day of the promo. If you are more intermediate and advanced and you've run email promos before and you have experience writing multiple emails a day, then I would bump that up and do 2 emails a day and then 3 or 4 emails a day on the final day of the promo. If you've never, like I said, if you've never done one before, do not try to write 2 emails a day. It's going to be too much. It's going to be too overwhelming for you. If you've never, like the first couple promos I did 1 email a day. And then after those did well, I finally moved up to 2 emails. So you can definitely just start with 1 if you're still new to doing email promos. What should you say in your emails? So we're going to go over some examples later, some just kind of quick hitters here. The biggest thing you can do is show them proof that you can help them fix a pressing problem that they have. That is without a doubt the easiest formula for writing emails that works really over and over again. Like I said, we're going to show a bunch of examples of emails that do this. But any kind of topic that really just nails into a pressing problem that they have, that they're feeling, that they're experiencing every day, and you're showing them proof of how you can fix that, that's a formula that's going to work over and over and over again. I have more here. Proof. I mean, proof is honestly the biggest thing. I feel like when I coach other email copywriters, it's the biggest thing I have to get them to really amp up and ratchet up. There's never enough. It's really hard to overdo the proof. If you can just layer on and hammer the proof home, more and more case studies, examples, things you've done before that kind of prove that what you're going to teach works, all that type of stuff, the more you can do, the better your emails are going to do. And as I said, we're going to go into more depth of this when we go through actual email promos. I just want to give you that real quick. Tracking which emails work best.
Just real quick on the proof side, David Deutsch had a really good thing he said years ago is take a highlighter, and if you wanted to ever just get better at this, print out your stuff and highlight all the points that have proof. And you'll get a feel for, is it 10% of your email? Is it 25, 50? And that was for sales letters. And then the other thing on what Goff just said, which I think I could have done much better on this last promo, probably now thinking about it, is if your proof is in the form of a story, you can send endless amounts. If it's just testimonial from Tom, testimonial from Jen, that's different than, Mike Geary was doing this, or I did this promo to this list when I was 23 years old and I made $12,000 in a single week for the first time ever. I had a water filter thing and we did 50K. I added this one single email afterward and we added $10,000 to $12,000 every time. Now it's a story. It's proof. It's disguised as a story rather than proof as just, juicy testimonials.
So one thing I do is I track which emails do best, and I do more of those. So a big thing I've learned from doing a bunch of email promos and launches is that the promo is really this like living, breathing thing, and you have to make adjustments as it's going based on the feedback you're getting. So if you look at this slide, you'll see how basically my sales look for a promo I did earlier this year, and this just tracks every email I send. It's like, all right, you made this many sales from this email. You made this many sales from this email. When I find topics or certain types of emails that are doing well in a launch, I continue to just hammer them until they stop working. It's one of those things where like most people will like go away from it and they'll be like, okay, let's try something different. It's like, no, like if that's working, like let's just keep doing it until it stops working. It's kind of like if you were the coach of a basketball team and you just kept throwing the ball down low to your big man and you just kept scoring every time, you wouldn't go away from that and try something else. It's like, no, just keep feeding them the ball until it stops working. Yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Definitely. So find the things that are working really well when you track them, and then just keep hammering those home during a launch.
Yeah, the only caveat I'll say to this, and again, this is a problem with email that nobody will ever solve. You can't view email fully in a vacuum of individual things being the reason why people buy. There's a chance that why you should not build a list like I do, people decided to buy in the last email, but they pulled the trigger in the next one because they were taking a shit and they finished, or they were, at a red light and they were like, oh, I can't actually buy right now, or whatever it is. Now, these are good indicators, and Goff is probably correct on most all of these. However, there is also something to look at, which is, okay, yeah, this email seemed to do way better, but it was also in the final 24 hours. And so that's naturally going to perform more. So you can't compare email like if you're doing a Monday to Sunday launch, you could write the best email on earth on Wednesday and Thursday, and they will not do as well as Monday or Sunday, because you will get, this is how every launch will work so that you don't want to kill yourself. Here's how you get a spike in sales. So it's going to go up like this on day 0, especially if you add in reasons to buy and prizes and things like we did for this. Then you're going to get this big dip. And then the last day, you'll get 50 to 60 to 70% of your buyers on the last day, depending on what you're doing. So just know that that's how it works. So you can go, oh, that one worked, that one didn't. But ultimately, especially if you're seeing like a difference of, let's see, for what Goff's got here, 29 versus, let's say 16. that probably is going to be an indicator of that. And if you get that just influx, you know you've hit a nerve with whatever that thing is. And Golf's right. Most people then go and do a different thing. It's like, no, just tell another story about another person similar to this thing and keep doubling down on the hook that's worth working. That doesn't mean ignore other ideas, because sometimes these 8% of people will buy on this hook, 2% will buy here, but that's still 10%. It's still an aggregate gain of people.
All right. So if certain email angle or a certain story works really well, I just always try to find more ways to send emails like that. So make adjustments as the promo goes on. And you can also do this based on the replies to your emails. So this is something I never used to do, but I do a lot more of now. If people are asking me about something, if they're responding to my emails, let's say 2 or 3 people ask about it. I mean, that means literally like 10 to 50 times that many people are probably thinking the exact same thing. So I'll give you a couple examples of this. So a previous promo I did for a $197 course, very similar to this, I had multiple people ask if I was going to offer a payment plan where they could split it into 2 payments. I think it was probably like 6, 7 people asked me it. So on the last day, I added a payment plan and huge boost. And I wrote a bunch of emails about it too. I was like, payment plans available, blah, blah, blah. Tons of people joined on the last day that were previously not going to come in. So that's a way of just addressing what's coming in to what emails people are actually sending you in regards to the emails you're sending out. Very similar one I had happen with my list building course. One of the big objections that I was not prepared for was, can I build a list if I'm not well known? And I got probably 4 or 5 emails about that. So right near the end of the promo, when I was getting a bunch of those emails, I wrote 2 different emails about that topic, how to build an email list if nobody knows who you are. And I gave a bunch of examples of people who have built huge email lists who literally nobody knows who the hell they are, just no name people. And those were 2 of the best emails of that entire promo. So that was a big objection holding people back from buying. And I just addressed it head on with proof that yes, you can build an email list if nobody knows who you are. So always paying attention to what people are saying and responding to your emails. You definitely want to do that in a promo.
Yeah, and on the payment plan side of things, so I would do what Golf did before. Instead of having a payment plan from the beginning for something this cheap, right? If it's a $2,000 course, you probably want 2 payments of $1,100 right from the get-go. For this, I would, if you add it, what it does, it gives you a reason to email about the new thing you've added rather than just it's been there the whole time. Or what you can do, and I wouldn't do this very often. It depends on if it was a really big offer and it crushed. Like I've done PayPal payment received or payment plan added. After I've closed it down, you reopen for a day and then let those people come in, and you might make an extra. I've had, 10, 20, 30 grand come in from stuff like that just from a reopen. But you don't want to do that a lot, because then you're also conditioning people, and you only want to do it when it really matters and it really helps people as well.
All right. So the last thing on the actual promo is hammering home the final day of the promo. So your biggest sales day is going to be the last day of the launch. And on average, you're going to get anywhere from 30 to 50% of your sales on the last day. So this is really not a time to be timid. So if you're worried about sending too many emails, I used to, when I had my supplement company, I think I would send 2 emails max on the last day of a promo. I didn't really fully understand promos like I do now. Now it's pretty much anywhere from 4 to 5 emails is what I'm sending on the last day. Simply because this is when all the sales are going to come in. There's all the people just kind of sitting on the fence, waiting to buy. Most people never act until they actually have to. The last day is when they have to actually act. So, like I said, 30 to 50% of the sales come flying in on the last day.
And if you want to, like what I do is, depending on how much I've been sending or how applicable that offer is to my whole list, on a daily basis, I send to my 90-day engagers, anybody who's opened in the last 90 days. Once every week or two, I send to anybody who's ever opened, and sometimes to more, and then they get pulled into that pool. This is beyond the scope of all this, but on the last day, I may send to the 90 days for the first email, then for the second email to the 30-day openers, and for the last two, I'm going to send just to my 7-day engages so that these people who aren't opening aren't just getting 4 of them stacked in there. But it's not as big a deal as so many people think. If people want to leave the list, fucking let them. But those 7-day engages, those people who have been involved for the last 7 days are the people who I want to make sure they see this. And literally sending a 1 hour left email, it's always incredible to me how many people will wait. And if you don't send it, they won't do it. I've sat in the back of Ubers at 11:58 p.m. and ordered something while I'm drinking and sitting there going, fuck, I got to get on this before it closes in 2 minutes, because they sent a, 15 minutes left email that I saw while I was there, 30 minutes left. It's crazy how many people will do that. I don't find a lot of people unsubscribe on the last day. I also don't care. Like, I'm not, unless I said something that was detrimental to the world, if people unsubscribe, they weren't my people. That's it. Like, I don't live in that world of worrying. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, one person's not going to change your business. So there's always more people you could put on your list. So yeah, I don't worry about it either. This is kind of a rough outline of kind of how I usually do the emails on the last day. Like I said, this is advanced. If you're more intermediate advanced, you've done email promos before, you can do this. If you're new, stick to doing maybe 2 emails on the last day or 3 at most. But I'll do 24 hours left email kind of at midnight. That tends to pick up a lot of sales before I get up and write that first email in the morning. So especially a lot of like international people who are reading it, they're going to buy on that email. And then there's all the other early risers who are up at 5, 6 o'clock and I haven't written an email yet. They might buy off of that email. I found that's something new I added in the last couple launches and it's really helped. But one thing to note is like not every email I'm sending that last day is like 24 hours left, 12 hours left. Like you don't want to do that. I'll hit like 1 or 2 of those X amount of hours left, and the rest of them are like story email with lots of proof, email that answers a big objection. Like I mentioned, the one with the, can I build a list if nobody knows who I am? Boom, nail that on the last day. Answer another big objection. Like there's going to be 1 or 2 big objections that you learn throughout the launch. And I found that last day is just a great time to address them and just push people over the edge.
Yeah, and this is where, and I did this today, and it went out basically like 50 minutes before the launch closed. I would have done this 24 hours before, had I had a chance to reply to the emails and look at all the objection stuff. But just an FAQ, your questions answered, works really well towards the end, where if you look at the one I sent for this, there were like 7 questions that people had sometimes it's as simple as, how long is the training and is it recorded? How does the training work? It's on Zoom. Who is this for? These things where you can either take one big objection, hit that, or you can take a list of all the emails that people have sent you over the response. Like during these launches, I have my reply set to my personal email so that I'm seeing what people are asking and saying in, rather than it going to support. And if it's an actual support email, I just forward it on. But that's how I'm learning what their issues are. And then I'm also finding out like, oh, this is its whole own course of video that I could create, or content or pieces that are happening. But just doing a straight up, all the biggest questions is really valuable. But I would do that 24 hours before so that they have a chance to really look through it rather than an hour.
Yeah, so a good example of this too, with addressing the objections. Stacy, you asked a question about that. The launch I did with Ning, we did about low price pocket change offers, how to build a list of those. A lot of the stories I told during that launch were about offers from like anywhere from like 5 to 10 years ago. They were great stories. And I was like, oh, my list, and I would try to hit on different niches and stuff. So I'm not just talking about the same niches all the time. And I thought everybody would resonate with that. But one question that brought up, everybody was like, well, is this still going to work today? You keep telling me about these things from like 5 or 10 years ago. Like, does this actually work today? And I was like, well, yeah, every other email I've talked about how these are working right now, but people just tend to ignore that. So people are going to find the littlest things to find questions and be skeptical of whatever it is you're kind of promoting. But I was aware of that and attuned to that just based on reading all the feedback I got because people were responding, asking me that. They're like, "Oh, this is working now in 2023?" And it's like, yeah, this works perfectly fine in 2023.
Yeah, and I mean, I think had I like I'm notoriously bad at responding to emails, texts, and all things that get sent to me. But I decided like for this one to respond to some people just because that checkout page was unusual for my list to know sort of what's going on. And so I had people who were just asking little questions. And just in that little response, then they hit me back. I'm like, okay, cool. I bought right after you told me that. Great. And it's like, okay, is my time worth a 1.5 minute response for a $200 sale? Well, if you extract, yes, it's worth it for that. And I'm actually helping people, which matters to me, and I can just set aside a little time and do that. I would say video, if you're a video person, will help on the last day. So I should have really probably made one or two yesterday and just done those videos for my list. But again, it's all also finding the difference between what works and what's best and what you'll actually do. Like you could sit here and be like, well, the best strategy would be to have 6 trigger emails based on this click and these things. And yeah, that might be best. But if you're not going to do it, it's not best. What's best is what you'll do.
Very true. All right, let's recap. Part three we just talked about is the promo. So 6 to 8 day promo, 1 email a day if you're new, 2 emails a day if you've done promos before. Hit on lots of proof that the thing you're selling works. Tap into those pressing problems that the people have. Track which emails do best. Double down on the angles that are working. Always adjust as the promo goes on. So you could even add things in, a last minute bonus, but answering those questions, objections, things that are coming up when people reply to your emails. And the final thing is really just hammer home that final day of the promo. This is not the time to be timid, not the time to pull back. 30 to 40% of your sales are going to come in on that final day. So you want to really hammer that home. So we're going to jump into breaking down some of the emails. Let's see. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. But I'm going to answer a couple questions here. Nicholas said, do you write out most of the promo beforehand, then pivot as needed, or are you writing them all day throughout the promo? I think Ian and I both do this the same way where we're writing each day. I have never been able to write everything out beforehand. I need to be kind of in the moment, feeling it. I have a better feel for how things were going yesterday, what my list was responding to, what they're not responding to. When I've tried to write stuff out beforehand, it's nowhere near as good. It's always flat. It doesn't have as much energy. So I just write it. I write it each day as it goes.
I think with promos, that makes the most sense too, because like Goff said, like you're adapting, you're feeling people's desires, you're fielding questions. You could go on a trip, go to Europe, go to the woods of Montana, do a launch, have it all pre-written, and know that it's going to do well enough that you weren't there and it wasn't going on. Even in a general sense, I fucking love writing emails in advance. It's one of the best feelings ever. I was in Nashville this weekend, so I wrote 4 in a day before I went, and those are all scheduled and ready to go. And that was awesome. That was before the card had opened. My relaxation is just chill when I don't have to write. But for a promo, I wanted to be around for those next 3 days where we're writing. I wouldn't have wanted to be off the grid for that. But in a general sense too, I do tend to write mine the day of in general for my list. From a personal perspective, when I do get ahead of my emails, it's one of the greatest feelings ever because I feel like I just get to move my business forward or do nothing for those days because it can hang over your head until you do it. But some people will write on a Wednesday, they'll sit down and write 5 emails every Wednesday, and they do this, and that's how they do it. But typically, it's not as deep a connection as like what Justin and I have with our list, where there's this personality driven connection that happens on a daily basis too from sharing and different shit.
Nicholas said, does the time of day matter for emails sent before the last day? I mean, if you're only going to write 1 email a day, I would probably do it in the morning. If you're going to do two, I like to space mine out, one going out at like 8 a.m., one going out at like 3 or 4. I don't think there's any specific thing, but that seems to work pretty well. Paul said, does it make sense to link out to a proof in a Google Doc to help with deliverability? Will pictures and screenshots of proof hurt deliverability, or is it worth adding? I mean, I think if you got like 20 pictures in your email, it's definitely going to hurt deliverability. So you wouldn't want to do that. But if there's a lot of proof on a sales page that you're sending them to, or a Google Doc that you're sending them to, you could definitely just tell like one specific story in the email and then link out to the sales page. Ours was a little different because there was no sales page for this, but when there's a sales page, obviously, and if it's a good sales page, you can do a lot less selling in the email and let the sales page do the work.
It saves you from kind of rehashing the same piece in an email every time where it's like at the bottom and that. But again, like what matters here is what you'll do, not what is best for your lifestyle overall and what you're committed to and shit like that. You know, if you're a hardcore, you know, Mark Wahlberg, you know, I wake up at 2:30 in the morning. I pray for 6 hours. I go to the gym 9 times. Like if you're that type of person, fucking do everything. Go for it. If you're a normal human being, then figure out what works for you and what your list responds to. As far as the Google Docs go to and the proof, like Golf sends an email, a picture at the bottom of every email. If I have like when I sent out the 101,033 hours, I attached a Stripe screenshot because those just work. A Stripe screenshot with $100,000 over the course of that is a great proof element that's going to help. But throwing a bunch of shit in that, like screenshots for proof are always better than a copy and pasted thing because you know it's true if it's a Facebook screenshot from a group or from whatever. But yeah.
So Nikki said, any tips on the first email to send to an email list that hasn't heard from you in a few months before doing a promo? Yeah, I'd probably warm it up for at least a week or two. Tell lots of good stories, be entertaining. Can maybe give away some stuff, but share some proof, tease them a bit, all that kind of stuff. That's what I would do. John Raleigh, how long does it take you each day to write your emails? Definitely depends on the length. I know mine take longer than Ian's. Mine's probably 30, 40-ish minutes, including everything. That's writing, editing, putting my picture in there, sending the whole thing out.
Yeah, mine's probably 7 to 20. I think the longest I took 21 minutes this morning to write the question one, but I had to copy all the questions over and shit. So if it's like a longer story, it might take me 20, 30, but I typically it just depends, but typically 7 to 20.
Jack said, can you recommend somewhere to learn what makes a good sales page? Lots of good courses out there for sales pages. Stefan's RMBC, I think, is really good. I don't personally have one. I don't know. Ian, do you have a sales page course?
Yeah, Derek and I had created we had a VSL course that I haven't opened for a long time, but that's really good in depth on that stuff. And then so one of the best books is Great Leads. It's like a $10 book on Kindle. Great Leads by Michael Masterson, who is the guy who started Agora. That's the best simple book, I would say.
Alex said, do you use a tool for the images on the bottom? No, I just take that picture every day. It's not generated or anything. So I just write it out, take it.
And in the email, you can just add an image in most service providers.
We're going to move on to actually breaking down the top 3 emails that are working right now. You guys can also, you're going to get a copy of this, and then you're also going to get a swipe file with a full email promo in it. But I really wanted to share this one with you because these emails are doing really well. Ian, can you see that?
Yes.
Cool. All right. Top 3 email types working right now. These are the ones I've really been seeing between my niche and a lot of different niches. These are kind of the way I look at them. So email number 3 is the one that I call pour on the proof. So this is really meant to just drown your reader with proof and credibility of whatever it is you're selling, because their skepticism is always really, really high. And the more proof you can just hammer home, results you got, results students got, credibility you have, big names that endorse you, screenshots of sales you made, like Ian just mentioned, before and after pictures, all that stuff just works over and over and over again. And if you can really just hammer that home in an email, I'll share like one example from each of these. You guys can go through, you'll get all these when we upload everything. You can go through the rest, but good example, one I sent earlier this year, like how much I made from January to April of this year. So I was promoting a course on how to write personality driven emails like I write. So I just threw out all this proof that personality driven emails work and make you a bunch of money. So I was like, for anyone skeptical of the power of personality driven emails, take a look at the last 5 promos I've done to my list. I just listed out all 5 of them and how much money each one made. That's just proof after proof after proof after proof. Overall, I made a nice chunk of change with these promos, but what's crazy is that my list isn't that big. Most of these promos were done when my list was around 9,300 people. A lot of people in my niche, like Ian Stanley, Ben Settle, Mike Dillard, they got lists that are 3 to 10 times the size of mine. Yet, despite my dainty list, I was still able to pull in around 60K per month from January through April. That just goes to show you the power of writing personality-driven emails. When you send emails people actually want to read, they tend to open them, they trust you, and as a result, they buy the things you recommend. So that could be a course, could be a physical product, coaching, or even an affiliate offer. It doesn't really matter what it is. Personality-driven emails will sell pretty much anything, which is why I'm a huge fan of them. And it's also why I created a course that shows exactly how to write them for maximum influence and maximum money. So then this last part is just a pitch, but that's pretty much the meat of the email right there. And that's a great example of just pouring the proof on, proof after proof after proof. I got a bunch more examples of it in here. You can read those on your own once we get those, but I'm going to go through 2 other examples here that I love. Selling the dream. So this email, you're really meant to tap into the reader's greed of getting that dream life that they desperately want. And this is going to change depending on the niche you're in. With something like what Ian and I teach with copywriting and marketing stuff, that could be like laying on the beach and making $5,000 a day while you're sitting there sipping pina coladas. It could be if you're in health, like a lot of the stuff I used to do with anti-aging, it was like people that are like 73 years old, like their big dream is running marathons when they're 73 and basically being the envy of all their friends. So all their other friends are in the hospital or going to the nursing home and they're out whipping on kids that are half their age. That's like a huge dream they have. Same thing in the golf niche. You see this a lot. Like the guys who buy stuff in the golf niche are 60, 70, 80 years old. Like if they can smash a drive farther than some kid who's 25 years old, like that's the ultimate dream that they want to do. So an email around selling the dream, these things just work over and over and over again. Doesn't matter what niche you're in. I shared the one earlier where I wrote about our buddy Mike Geary. It was really a perfect fit for my list building course. I basically just talked about how Mike really just is the king of building lists in the health niche. And he lives kind of that lifestyle that everybody wants. So literally that's the whole thing. This whole email is just selling the dream of Mike's life. So I'm like, I don't think anybody has a lifestyle business. I don't think anybody does it better than my friend Mike Geary. He currently lives in Utah in a gorgeous multi-million-dollar house at the top of Powder Mountain. Anytime there's fresh snowfall, Mike simply pops his skis on and he's on the trails in less than 10 seconds. Pretty cool. But what's even cooler is Mike customized his house to basically fit everything that he loves. So in addition to skiing, Mike's super into health and biohacking. So what did he do? He built out an entire day spa on the first floor of his house. Seriously, this thing looks like the kind of spa you'd find at the Wynn. It's got a full steam room, a hot sauna. When you go outside, there's a custom-made in-ground cold plunge. Next to the cold plunge is a massive 10-person hot tub that overlooks the mountain. It's simply stunning. It's tailored to everything Mike loves. I've been lucky enough to hang with Mike on a number of occasions, and every time I'm around him, there's always one thing that sticks out to me, and that's the fact that his first priority is not work. It's enjoying life. He's not a slave to working. He's not spending all day managing employees or sitting on Zoom calls. He doesn't do any of that stuff. The reality is that he works like 2 hours a day. He spends the rest of his time skiing, hiking, playing with his dogs, and enjoying his spa. It's a pretty damn good life and one that most people would kill for. But here's the thing. His life didn't turn out like this by accident. The reality is that Mike has purposely kept everything in his business simple. And he only has one focus, Can you guess what that focus is? I'll give you a hint. It's not social media or the operations. It's his email list. Mike's always figuring out new ways to get people onto his email list because he knows once he does that, he can keep making 20 to 30K with every email that he sends. That's it. It's a super simple business model, but it works, blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of the crux of the whole email there. Really just, you can see how I paint the picture of that kind of dream life that Mike has. And those emails just crush. Every time I do them, they crush.
And just to sort of piggyback on this, whether it's a story about another person or a story about yourself, if you're selling a dream of some sort, people attach themselves to the quirks and the idiosyncrasies and these little unique pieces of a person's story that stand out. Like Geary will never miss the powder day. Like no matter what, he will always ski on that day. Before with people like Dan Kennedy, he doesn't have a fax. He only has a fax machine. He doesn't have a phone. These little things. But what's interesting about Geary, even in particular, is he's a close friend of mine. Like we were in Montana for a week, just in the woods. And I remember one of the other guys there was like, "Yo, Geary, do you still never wake up to an alarm?" And that was some story he had told years ago. And it's true, but he never uses an alarm. And unless it's like a 5 a.m. flight. And so that these little pieces, even within the stories, that could be an email is never wake up to an alarm again. Because to people with jobs, that's a big, I used an alarm today for the first time in a long time because it's like, I'm going to get up and write a couple emails. And that was like a big deal for me. Like that can be its own hook because so many people are used to that beep. So even extrapolating on specific pieces within a story can really help people connect. They connect to those unusual pieces that defy other people's lives.
Great point.
But the normalcy of other people's lives.
All right. So the last one I want to share here is out of all the emails I've written this year, and I've tracked every single one I've used in a promo, the one that has performed the best is tapping into the big pressing problem that people on my list have. I was actually really pissed that this one was number one because I was like, it's the most like cliche and boring one. Like selling the dream is way sexier. There's other ones that I have, like the contrarian ones that are way sexier. So I was actually like pissed that this one was first, but it makes sense why this one was first because that's what people care about. They care about the pressing problems that are affecting them now. And so if they're thinking about it often, and you're tapping into it, you're just like printing money. You really are. So I'll share a couple examples of this. Here's one I wrote when I basically I did a training on how to do these kind of 1-day Zoom trainings. And basically the whole hook of it was making sales without a funnel. So that's a big pressing problem to a lot of people in the marketing niche where it's like, it's really complicated. You got to write sales pages. You got to put the whole funnel together. I got to have upsells. Super, super complicated stuff most people don't want to deal with. So I was tapping into that pressing problem, which is creating a funnel. So that whole email is all about that. I'm going to actually just share a couple examples with this one so you guys get a kind of good idea of what it's like. For copywriters, endless ideas for your emails. One of the biggest pain points for copywriters is I don't know what to write about. So I wrote an entire email about how I used to struggle to come up with new things to write about each day. And really it was because I didn't have like templates. I didn't have swipe files. I didn't have ideas. I was just starting with like a blank page every day. So it was like this new battle every single day to come up with an idea of what to write about. That's a pressing problem in someone's life who's a copywriter. Especially someone who writes emails a lot, trying to know what to write about. Very, very pressing problem. I'm gonna show you a couple other examples so you guys get a good idea of what this is. Golf niche, hate inconsistent contact. One of the biggest problems with golfers, the people that buy the golf courses or the trainings and stuff on golf is they'll hit one shot really good and then the next shot they'll duff it or they'll spray it 30 yards to the right. There's no consistency there. And that inconsistency is really what adds a ton of strokes to the score. So it's a huge pressing problem where it's like you hit one shot great, or last week when you played, you hit great. And then this time you come out and you're terrible. The inconsistency just like drives them nuts. So that's tapping into a pressing problem that's on their mind. Uh, Here's one from the skincare niche about dark spots. This is mostly going to be women buying this, but basically any kind of dark spots, uneven skin tones, um, basically that make you look older, make you feel older, make you feel like you're losing your youth, losing your beauty. That is a pressing problem for most women. So that email does a great job of tapping into that. So the whole thing I want you to remember here is really what is that very specific pressing problem. If you can tap into those with your emails, like I said, those things are just, it's like a license to print money. Like every single time you tap into something that's a pressing problem that they're thinking about, no matter what niche you're in, that email is going to do well. Cool. Any questions you guys have? We've been going for 2 hours, 15 minutes now. You guys are going to get all those, and you're also going to get another PDF of an actual full promo, like start to finish. I'll have all that uploaded tomorrow. But in the meantime, if you guys got any questions, we'll do Q&A for a couple minutes here.
Yeah, I'll say the email type that works really well for me is the 1 hour email or the 4 hour email, like not being afraid to send those. You will make a lot more from that than you think.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I left those out of that because to me, I kind of almost classify them differently because it's like,
Yeah, the pressure's there, so it's like the time pressure alone is going to make a huge
right.
difference. But just don't be like, I remember when I was starting out, you're afraid to do it, and then somebody responds, "Oh, stop sending so many emails." I don't care. Like, if you want to, suppress the people who've already bought, go ahead or whatever. There's so many things, but I would say, um, just don't be afraid to send. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to pivot either. Like asking people what are their issues with this course, what is holding them back. And honestly, doing the Q test shit, whether it's Golf's version or mine, it just saves you so much headache and bullshit from the potential of completely fucking up a launch that just doesn't hit as hard as you think or at all.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, the worst thing is putting all the time and effort into creating a course and doing the whole promo. And
yeah.
it normally makes you 30 grand and it makes you like 4 grand. It's like the most defeating thing ever.
Yeah. And I've never had one just not work. And that's because I know what they want and I've tested these things. And it's like, now obviously some outperform dramatically other ones, but all of them at least well. Because I know people who've like done promos to just crickets, like just horrible, non-performing, bad shit. Um, so as far as the list building bonus and the $101,000 bonus, I would say I'm gonna get those out to you guys tomorrow. I think I may just have Golf send them an email to the Loom video themselves. That way, there's no, uh, you know,
Yeah, so I just put that link in that all the training stuff is gonna be uploaded to a link that I popped in the chat. So whenever Ian has all that, I'll get it all uploaded to that page.
um, just Katrina's question here. When you do a fuck it, do it live, is there a formula or template where if you hit X, Y, and Z points, you'll deliver the value promised, particularly at the 997? No, I think for 997 type of stuff, I'm gonna have a pretty damn good idea that thing is gonna crush. Like when I did the first 90 days promo, we did like 200 and over 200,000, and my list was only maybe 10,000 at the time. But I did phone calls as well, and then I ended up texting people. But I knew people wanted to learn how to find clients and write for other people. Like I knew that was a really important thing for them, and I did it as a live 30 days or something. I did 5 days a week for 30 days, and so obviously it was worth it at the amount we made. And now that offer's done, for 4 million, whatever it's done. So, um, it's harder to say at the higher level of those more expensive things, but I kind of like, I really know that's what's like the 1 hour workday, how to build a list and build an email list business, 90 days. Like if you're going to do a 997, you got to know with certainty that that's a thing people really want, before you go and create it. And here's the thing with Fuck It, Do It Live, which is basically just, I don't create any of my products until they've been sold. That's just what I do. I don't make them until they've been sold. Because what if, if Golf and I had sold 10 copies of this, we just wouldn't have done it. We would have refunded the 10 people and been like, I'm not going to spend 2 hours here for $500. Like, just wouldn't have been worth it. And sending all this, it's just the opportunity cost of all these things. So you protect yourself from a fuck up by not creating the product till after, where if you sold 3 and you don't want to do it, you can just refund their money and move on.
Meg said, if I'm just starting out building my list, how important is it to send newsletter emails like you and Ian do for the success of an eventual promo? I definitely would do it. If you're building the list now and you want to do something in January, yeah, you should be sending them emails, consistent emails, fun, entertaining, like we do up until that point.
Even teasing something or talking about something that, even if you do other stuff, like one of the reasons why the Brent promo did so well for Golf and I is him and I have talked about Brent for years, about him and that, and I'd had a business with Brent, and Golf was still talking about him probably quite a bit more than I was leading up to it. And so all those little things add up to just like little teases. If you know you're going to launch something in 2 months, mention it 2 months in advance. Say just this little piece, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, by the way. And then people literally, like, they get excited for months.
Yes, Ian's list building bonus is going to be uploaded to the same page. I don't know. Are we going to have it tomorrow or is that going to be later?
I'm going to do at least a breakdown of it tomorrow, and I'll have that ready.
Okay. Um, Phillips, can this 1 day training style that you run be turned into a longer form training, like a 2 to 3 day boot camp and charge more? Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, this training easily could have been turned into a webinar, $2,000-$3,000 promo. Like it really wouldn't be any different. You'd probably add a little more like done for you stuff to it and make it simpler on the people, and add a little more like feedback with Ian and I. But yeah,
Yeah, and probably just depending on what you're doing, like we would have added like 1 or 2 submission days, like where you can come in and bring a promo and we'll break it down, or you do those weeks later, whatever, and do it that way.
yeah. Stacy said, what percentage of people respond to your Q surveys? The last couple I've done, I had 400 people responded to one and like 500 on the other. You don't need anywhere near. I mean, I've helped some people who've gotten like 20 people respond, and it's like those 20 people, if they're decent, like if you have 20 people who are like people who have bought something from you, that's going to give you a much better idea than you just trying to guess on your own. So even 20 people is gives you a decent idea.
Yeah, the trick, like there are lots of gurus then who will go and present like, this is, I got this conversion rate on this thing, and they got like 4 fucking conversions. Like that's statistically insignificant. You're a douchebag if you do that. But for your own list, feedback's feedback. If
Yeah.
2 or 3 people in your everyday life say, fuck, if I had that, it would change my life. There are $1 billion businesses that have been built off of that exact thing of, man, if I, this is a problem I have. And then you find a way to solve it.
Did you answer Katrina's
I
offer
did.
question
Yeah.
on me? Okay. What's the best way to prime an old list before a new product launch to get more activity? Just send them entertaining, engaging, informational emails, kind of like we send our list. You can kind of tease something coming up. But yeah, I think that's the way to do it. John said, I'm a buyer of Ian's $7 promo. Do you plan on doing more of those? What's your feedback on them? I see it's a bonus. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm a little confused as to that. Sadie, wait, what $7 promo are you talking about? I see it's a bonus. I don't know what that is. Um, Which promo? I don't know what you're talking about. Can you be more specific with which promo? Done a lot of promos. Um, it was a pay what you want. I think you're just saying right. The pay what you want was the reality engineering that did real well. It did. I mean, no upsells, no bumps, no nothing. Just with the incentives for paying more and different things, it did like 12 or 13,000 from like 4 emails. And then in the resends and in other stuff now, it's done another, five. So and I love teaching it, and I've made more money by practicing what I taught in that than I made from the main thing. So it's all been incredibly worth it. And it was super easy, super fun, felt good. Like to me, that's really important. It's got to feel good. It's got to be fun. I got to enjoy it. So not everybody cares about that, but I do.
John Raleigh said, when you're writing swipes for your product launch for affiliates, how many emails do you send them? Also, since all affiliates won't send all emails, do you send a one-off email or do you just make sure the first email goes in case they don't send on all days?
I think you're talking about like the swipes you're sending to an affiliate, right? That they're actually going to send to their list for a promo.
Yes.
I would always say the more emails you send them, the better, because some of them aren't going to resonate as much for their list. Some of them will. What I do now is I just make a Google Doc that has all of my swipes. So it may have 12, 13 emails, and I put next to them what day to send them and when if it's a promo that we're doing together. But it's up to them if they want to use it in that exact format and stuff. And so I like to just give them a Google Doc full of like 15 emails. Because, like, say Golf and I were doing this and I didn't actually want to write my own, I would want ones that resonate with me that sound like what I would say and shit to pick from. So,
The
yeah.
biggest thing I've learned with affiliates is, yeah, give them all the swipes, make it as easy as possible for them. Second, you need to stay in constant contact with them. If you just send them one thing like, hey, here's all the emails for you to promote, like the large majority of them are not going to follow through and do everything. Like you need to stay in touch almost daily. Like, hey man, I saw you made 40 sales today. Awesome. Like you're crushing it. And if you're doing an actual launch with multiple affiliates, the competition between the affiliates should really drive a lot of that. So you really should be hammering on that. Like, oh, Ian made 40 sales. It looks like you're at 38, so you're a little bit behind Ian. Like that's going to
I,
drive everything way more.
I promoted something for Justin. I think it was for Justin. I was snowboarding and I was like down one on Steph and Georgie. And so I was like, fuck this. I'm going to go knock one out and beat him. There wasn't even a prize really. It was just for I like winning and I wanted to beat Stefan and I did. Um, and like actually Brent wasn't telling us during the launch who was winning and what was happening, like not actively to everybody, but it would have pushed more if he had. So that's important. But really another thing is if you're gonna, and this is more advanced for a lot of people here, don't worry about what we're talking about right now. But if you've got affiliates promoting, I would have the Google Doc, but also each day I would send them the email with their custom link and the email in their email inbox so that it's as easy as possible to copy and paste. Like,
Yep.
as Nate Hopkins always did that at Bouchus, he would literally send you every email in your inbox with your link, and you could just copy and paste. You didn't have to go to an affiliate login and all this. That's what Google Docs are nice because you can just have it open. But if you do like the go and log into your members area and pull your links and do this shit, it's just
Too many
thing
hurdles.
affiliates to do a lot is just reduction of friction.
Yep. Yep. Dylan said, how many backend products do you try to create each year? I don't have a set number. I literally just, as I come up with ideas that I think my list would like, I'll do it. Yeah. Nils said, I have a high ticket program that is delivered over 12 weeks via live training. Each training could be its own 2-hour training like this. Is there any reason to not do some of the 12 sessions over time in the short session 197 format? Not really sure what you're asking.
I think he was talking to Katrina as well, who was asking him what he does.
Yeah. Okay.
As far as the list building goes, somebody asked if it's going to be similar to Ning's. Just so you know, the list building thing is not like this isn't a full on course on how to build a list and build a business. Like I've done that before and that's $1,000 course. This is just a bonus of me just showing you the exact funnel and the ads that are getting, almost 200 leads a day on Facebook and Instagram. So it'll be, I mean, it's literally how we're growing our business pretty dramatically right now, along with our YouTube ads. But so that'll just be a breakdown of me on Loom, kind of showing you guys what I'm doing there.
Right. Nils said, do I risk anything by doing some of the trainings in pieces versus the whole thing? The whole thing that is delivered via my high ticket program. I mean, if you're doing a high ticket program, I don't think there's anything wrong with it being over 10 or 12 weeks. Like if I was doing a in-depth copy mentorship something, it might be 8 to 12 weeks kind of thing where they're getting taught something new each week and then I don't know, maybe some like feedback on stuff they're doing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't make each one its own course, but if you want to take one piece, like let's say I have a thing on how to get your first client, that's what you want, and then I use that to sell people into 90 days to freedom. So you can take one piece, don't take your whole course, just take one little piece of it that's the most interesting to people, and then break that off and sell it as its own thing, and then upsell the big thing.
But also, I would say it depends on your niche. Like if you're in biz op and you're trying to teach something over 12 weeks, it ain't gonna work because those people like want to push a button tomorrow and make $10 the next day. Not they don't have they're not gonna be able to wait 12 weeks. But if you have a more dedicated kind of buyer base, that would work.
Being said, I mean, 90 days to freedom is, a 12-week thing, and there's different things we use to get people in, but that's sold to cold traffic and to people who don't know me.
Well, you also have a huge investment from them because they're spending thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's a high ticket offer. And part of my hook and sort of
Is 90 days
is to say, this is not get rich quick. It's me rallying against the biz op world of cunty people. I said it fine at the end, who just sell bullshit and false dreams. So that's part of my style, is to rally against those people.
All right, guys. Anybody else have questions before Ian and I wrap this up? By the way, was this helpful for you guys? Do you feel like you
How was this? Tell us. I'd love to hear just your biggest takeaway. Just if you guys want to write in your biggest takeaway, how do you think it'll affect you? That'd be real valuable to us. What was the best part? I know you guys are all writers who are like, "Oh, we're gonna write something fancy." So go ahead. The survey, I think he meant to say, not the surgery on the products.
Yeah, figuring out what products they want. More emails on the last day of the promo. Don't care about the unsubs. Yeah, definitely. Thought process about finding the offer that appeals to the 5%. Great. Strategy. Emails about the dream life. Focus on the offer is my biggest takeaway and how y'all explained it. Awesome.
I'm going to just give a quick little synopsis of how I do launches, just quickly, not like written down or anything. Is just typically I'm starting mine on a Monday, and they'll do, if it's a webinar, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning, I register for the webinar. Thursday afternoon is a replay, Friday's replay, and maybe a link to the checkout. Saturday, Sunday, links to the replay and checkout. And it closes. That's those three to get them to register, basically proof, story, different things like that. If it's a promo to my internal list, it's probably 3 to 4 days of stories and tension build up, proof, open the cut for 1 day to 3 or 4 days. During that time, hitting different points that I think they're going to be interested in, 2 to 3 to 4 emails on the final day.
There you go. Awesome. So we're going to wrap it up. Appreciate you guys sticking around. Appreciate you guys hanging out, asking questions. We will be sending out the replay tomorrow. So you can check that link that I posted here. You also have the link in all your follow-up and purchase emails. So the full replay, the slides, the PDFs. I even had somebody take notes during this call. Those will be in a PDF as well. So you guys are going to have all of that. but it will be sent to you tomorrow, or you can just check that link that I send you. So thanks again. Hope you guys got a lot out of it, and hope to see you guys next time.
Thanks, everyone.